Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They haven't got it! He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it! Big Barry!
Well, the sands of time, they do fade away, as it has been the case with this season of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship, which now heads to the Bahrain International Circuit for its final hurrah. Some of the titles have already been wrapped up, but there are still some up for grabs. Join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt along for the ride of the 80 minutes of Bahrain. James, it's been a pretty interesting season, and under the nightfall here in the Persian Gulf, it's only going to get that little bit more rapid around for the Hypercars and the LMGT3s that we've got running around this circuit.
Yeah, we definitely have at the moment. It's going to be a really good mix. I think this could be a very exciting race. There's a lot for them to contend with here as well. It's not a circuit you generally see on other calendars, unless of course you're in the F1 23, and then you'll see it in other simulators. It's not a circuit that you see that often. You know, it's not even in iRacing either, so you're not going to see it there. So this is the first time out really as well, and I think it could be a really exciting one. We have just gone into quali at the moment as well, but let's bring them up with the track itself. So there you go, Alex.
So this track has been around since 2005, has a multitude of corners that will really test, along with a very, very long start-finish straight, and also the back part of the circuit from turns 13 to 14. It's 5.41 or 3 kilometers, or 3.36 kilometers in length. It's going to be a lot of slipstreaming around certain parts of the circuit, but the infield very, very technical, and it is going to challenge not just the Hypercars, which are a combination of the LMDH or the GTPs, and also the LMGT3s that we see, as time qualifying is now officially underway. The GT3s will be out first, 10 minutes around this fantastic circuit, and we do, as I said earlier on, allude to having some interesting dynamics due to come in. A very good evening to Mr. Reese. Of course, don't forget to put things in chat when you get the opportunity whilst you're watching along here, not just on Champion Sim Racing's YouTube channel, but also JP Broadcasting. As well. So titles have been already secured so far at the moment, which sees that we have got a great battle in the prospect for second position in the Hypercar overall championship. Dan Kirby has already secured that with a multitude of victories back at Road Atlanta, Fuji, Road America, Mosport, the Glen, Le Mans, and also the opening 2.4 hours of Daytona. Tom Lane and John Urien are battling away. They are separated by 7 points coming into this championship season, the end of this championship season. Becky Ely and Jamie Zalecki are going to be the two real main people that we need to concentrate on in LMGT3. The main reason being is that Becky Ely, if she finishes ahead of Jamie Zalecki in this race, she will wrap up the title. Zalecki has no options but to go for the win and hope for Becky not to finish any higher than 7th position. as the first few lap times will be coming in. And no surprise, Becky Ely in the number 72 Acura NSX GT3 has already gone very, very quick in the opening 2 sectors. Yuki Takanashi in the 022 McLaren 720S. That's a good lap there from Becky Ely, who puts it up the top of the timesheets at the moment. 1 minute 56.1. Eugene Mazur briefly goes to second, but then is pit by Craig Pullen in the BMW M4 GT3 77. The top of the AM drivers at the moment is Takanashi goes across the line, puts it P2, James, by 76 thousandths of a second. Zalecki goes third. So already we're getting to see this real fight at the sharp end of both the LMGT3 Pros and the AMs around here at Bahrain.
Yeah, definitely. Becky Ely's been consistent for pretty much most of the season, mate. You know, she's absolutely done a stellar dob this season, and I think if she did win, I don't think anybody's going to be really sort of upset that she won, because she has done an absolutely great job. Takanashi hasn't been here throughout the whole of the season, which is a shame, because I think he could have been up there as well. Jaime Zalecki, now the problem for Jaime Zalecki is not the fact of he needs to go out and win, which he absolutely does need to go out and win. It's just where Becky Ely needs to be. You know, she needs to be down in 7th. That's going to be hard, because, you know, Jaime Zalecki's got to sort of rely on 10 other drivers, or 7 other drivers at least, to beat Becky Ely, and I don't think there's that many that have got the pace of her during this race. You know, Takanashi, Zalecki maybe might have the pace on her, but I don't think some of the others will. Vasilios Kataranakis also might be another one, but apart from that, I don't think anybody else is going to have the pace, and that's kind of showing in the times at the moment as well, with the fact that obviously she's at the top of the times in the split. You can see there Ely, Takanashi, Zalecki, Maya, and then you got obviously Pullen, which is in the GT3 AMs. So it's going to be tough for this man. Jaime Zalecki, yeah, I don't think he's going to quite get there. I think this could be Becky Ely's title.
Yeah, I mean, she's just put in a 1:55.403 as Zalecki will come across the line. Will there be an improvement for the number 26 Acura NSX GT3? Well, he does improve, but then gets pipped by Jesse Monrose in the meantime. So Zalecki puts it 4th on the grid. John Mayer rounds out the top 5. Craig Pullen, at the meantime, in the LMGT3 AM class in the 77, is the quickest out there by nearly 0.2 of a second. As we see John Mayer come across the line, he gets pipped by Stuart Barge in the 86 Acura, who goes P5 overall with the 1:57.148. As the time is rapidly counting down. It's a clean sweep for the top 5 at the moment in the LMGT3s overall, with Becky Ely leading Yuki Takanashi. Jesse Monrose, Vasilis Katarinikis goes 4th. Jamie Zalecki goes 5th. Stuart Barge leading the AM Brigade in 6th. John Mayer, Craig Pullen, James Walker, Brendan Warner, Hayden Cownan and Daniel Doig round out the top 12, covered by 3.1 seconds. So you've got a multitude of manufacturers. Again, one of the characteristics of this circuit here, James, is the top speed. And Becky Ely has been hitting the speed traps at over 264 kilometres an hour and has only been equalled by John Mayer, down in 7th, overall 6th in the pro side of things. Takanashi is trying to close that gap. Becky Ely is going to go out for one final push lap. Will she get ever closer to possibly a high 1:54? That's very much on the cards in this final couple of minutes in qualifying.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, that, to be fair though, as late as we are on in their qualifying session, you know, they've only got about a minute and a half left of this one. Obviously, if they start their lap before the 10 minutes run out, they can complete it. If they start after that and they try and complete it, they will get a penalty. She's on a 1:55.403. I think the struggle with it will be that's quite a lot of time to try and pick up on. You might see an improvement, but generally you would see it like a tenth for a little bit, sort of that kind of way. You're half a second. Well, that's a big ask, but never say never. We'll keep an eye on her lap and see how she gets on as she's coming over the line to start her final lap, and we'll see where she's picking it up on the splits on the bottom right-hand corner there as well. Sideways is better is in YouTube chat. Good evening to you. I'm not going to presume. I would say sir, but that would be a presumption, and you're never really quite sure. So I will not say that, but good evening. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, so Becky Ely doing a really, really good job all the way through the season, and looking at the win tally that she's got already, has won 4 of the last 5. 1 at Monza, 1 at Road America, 1 at Fuji, 1 at Indy, and then narrowly missed out on the win, which was JT Tarmy in the AMR Vantage GT3 that took the W at Road Atlanta. One of the many fantastic circuits, but also it's a good bit of an equaliser. Oh, Becky Ely, no surprise here, has just gone purple in the opening sector, 34.602. This could be the lap that really does decide what happens. There is a yellow briefly out in sector number 1 as Becky Ely negotiates her way through the infield section here at this 5.412 kilometre, 3.36 mile 15 turn circuit. She's really got a lot of pace. Slower in sector 2. There was a brief yellow flag out as the timer has elapsed. It will mean that the Hypercars will be out. And then we've got to start talking about them very shortly. But Becky Ely on the yellow soft compound. So a bit of a dip in sector number 2 for the person who is very much on the cards to wrap up the title here in Bahrain. She's going to pull it into the pits. That is it. Becky Ely puts it on overall pole for the final round of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship, as now we unleash the Dogs of War. The Hypercars out, and this is going to be absolutely epic. I've been waiting to see where we would have a variety of cars, including the 963 from Porsche, the 9X8 from Peugeot, the Acura ARX06, and even the odd occasional Caddy or 2.
Yeah, I do love this series with the way that these cars are set and of what they are, and I think for us as fans of this, we sit here and just think, oh man, they do look amazing. That 9X8 I love. I think it is absolutely incredible. 673 horsepower, 7,400 redlining at the RPMs, and a big Graflin 2.6 litre twin turbo V6 hybrid. Ho, ho, ho. It's like power at your fingertips, Mr. Goldschmidt.
And with the added bonus of no rear wing. It's all done through ground effects. So Daniel Kirby from CMS Pro, who has pretty much run away with the championship this season. So is Wayne Hutchison in the AMS, having taken wins at Daytona, Portimao, Sebring, Long Beach, the Glen, and Fuji has already wrapped up the title with 285 points. But it's not going to be easy for some of the other drivers, including the fact of, well, we did get told a little bit before broadcast that Felipe Enrique in the Acura ARX 06, who's on 242 points, during the race will have to serve, folks, a stop and hold penalty for 120 seconds, which includes a stop and hold 10, a stop and hold 20, and 2 stop-go penalties. And has also received a caution from the race directors of the series for aggressive driving. So Enrique is going to try and put that car up as far the order as possible, as the ambient air is 28 degrees Celsius, track temperature 29. With these darker conditions with the floodlights here, James, at Bahrain, tyre strategy is going to be one thing. You've got to sort of exit out of the corners really well, but you've got to stay cool, and that also means being very, very calm and precise with your inputs going into corners and exiting out and booting the throttle down correctly. And as I say that, Henrique spins the Acura and returns to garage straight away. That's not the way to start off your qualifying session, is it?
No, it doesn't bode well when you've been under so much penalty scrutinisation either. 120 seconds, that's 2 minutes, guys, he's got to sit in the pits for. It's a long time. It was very, very aggressive. And I think to be fair, I think he would be almost right up there if he hadn't been so aggressive as the season gone on. I think penalties overall have probably killed Enrique's season. And I think he just needs to sit back and settle a little bit, realise that he's in that faster hypercar. He can just sit there and be a bit more patient. And it just doesn't seem that quite Enrique's got that... I'm not going to say ability, because that's, he's driving a very quick car, but that patience and, not having that kind of entitlement situation where it's like, oh, I'm going to go because I'm a hypercar. No, it doesn't work like that. You can't be like that. So if Enrique hadn't probably done as much as he had done this season in conjunction with penalties, I think he could be right up there. One of the interesting things we are going to see as well, Timon Suvic. Now, Timon Suvic was very, very quick in practice, and I'm expecting him to be very quick here in qualifying. Now, the problem for Timon Suvic is he's got to go in and do a stop and hold at the beginning for 10 seconds. So all of this work he's going to do is going to go out the window. And it's such a shame, because he's another man, as the season's gone on, Alex, he has shown flashes of pace, he has shown speed, and he still ended up at points getting involved with a lot of things that he didn't need to get involved with. And that's probably the story of quite a few drivers here. It's probably the story of a lot of the drivers about being involved in things they didn't need to. And it's a shame, because a lot of these could have been so much closer to the action and at the top of the table if they hadn't just given themselves penalties.
Yeah, there's a few more other stories. Let's have a look at who's quickest overall and also in the AM classification for the Hypercars. It's the number 90 9X8 Peugeot of Daniel Kirby that's put the fastest lap down so far, with over half time gone in this 10 minutes Hypercar qualifying here at Bahrain. We've got a yellow out in Sector 1. Kirby is fastest by nearly 7.5 tenths of a second ahead of Ernest Bernaldo in the 00963. John Oyen, who is battling away with Tom Lane for second in the overall classification. Behind Daniel Kirby, they're separated by 7 points coming into this final round. You then also have to look at the fact that SKS Motorsport and Team Rookie Monsters are 2 adrift of each other, second and third in the overall standings. Going back to the AM side of things, it's HPD versus Stuart Haas in the team classifications for the AMs. So this is where it's going to be very, very difficult to see what's going to happen. Is it going to be Acura? Is it going to be Cadillac? That is one enticing battle as two titans of IMSA roar around the circuit here at Bahrain. Oliver Newman leading the way in the number 62 BMW M V8 Hybrid is quickest in 9th overall, just under 2 seconds away from Daniel Kirby. It's really good to see these mods on RF2 where you've got these wonderful GTP or LMDH or hypercars, as we call them, folks. Really good to see the diversity of that as well from that case, as Oliver Newman comes out of the final corner. He's on an outlap, so he's got 2 minutes and 45 still to go to possibly get himself a little bit further up the order and get himself away from the 05 Porsche 963 of Mika Locke, who is about a second away from him at the moment. Locke's has gone through Sector 1 on a 31.749, as Daniel Kirby has gone purple in the opening 2 sectors. Could we see a further improvement and get closer to that 1 minute 40?
I will say probably yes. He has been a man-mountain, as he's going to come over the line very, very shortly. We'll bring you his time up. He's on a 141.558. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 141.3 or even closer to that. 141.181, 1.1 seconds. He has been the unstoppable force. He has been so so amazing this season. He didn't get off to the greatest start, and that was the thing for Kirby. He didn't get off to the greatest of starts, and then the surround of winners, comes in. 4.8 hours of Le Mans, the Glen, Mosport, as well. He dropped points in Monza, and then it just goes. Win Road America, win Fuji, win Road Atlanta. Second, I think it was in Indianapolis. His consistent presence, his consistent ability, and he's so humble. Like, when we talk to him, he's like, yeah, it went all right, yeah, it was really good. No form of that ignorance, arrogance that some racing drivers have, and there's nothing from Daniel Kirby. He is just so calm, so cool, so collective, and he deserved to win that championship. The amount of effort, the amount of work he's put into it, fully deserved winner. He has been unstoppable, Alex, over the last half of this season, and fair play to him. He's wrapped it up already. He didn't really technically even have to show up for this. He could have just sat at home with a blanket over his knees and slippers and then turned around and joined it on the TV.
Yeah, but every good racer worth their salt. If they have won the championship, what's the one thing they want to do? Go out on a high and pick up the win here in Bahrain. And that's exactly what Daniel Kirby has done. He's fired a warning shot across the bows, even though Ernest Bernaldo has just put in the fastest overall final sector and has just closed that gap to 0.891 seconds with a 1:42.072. John Iron is at the moment going to be very, very close. It's about 3/10 between him and Tom Lane in terms of the inside of the second row on the grid around this 5.412 kilometer circuit. Checkered flag is out for the final time in this season of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. And Daniel Kirby, again, just showcasing what he's been able to do. But John Oyen puts in a personal best in the first sector, but then returns to garage. That's his qualifying over. He's going to start from the inside of row number 2. Tom Lane will start 4th. Timon Suvic, who's got that stop and hold penalty for 10 seconds, let's not forget. Wouter de Bruyne rounds out the top 6 ahead of Jerry Chen and Gilles Lalonde, who also has got to do a stop and hold 25. There's been a raft of penalties. Was that Jerry Chen just going off circuit? I think I just saw, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he's just stopping on the side of the circuit, to be honest. I think a couple of these aren't going to get their laps completed. I believe some may have crossed over the line before we actually come down to 0. So if they have, they are entitled to finish their lap. But I think overall, as you can see here with Bernardo, who's coming down that start-finish straight out of 15 at the moment, he's going to get a lap on the board. Not really an improvement. There's an improvement in the middle. He goes for a 42.033, still 0.8 of a second back. John Uyan, Tom Lane, that's going to be that important battle for that championship. And not the championship, but the second in the championship, sorry. So they're going to be very, very close together as well. And I think that could be one to keep an eye on. We have got 80 minutes, mind you, as well. We are expecting the Hypercars to do 2 stops and maybe a splash and dash. And then the GT3s at least 2 stops. So we'll see what happens as this race goes on. But at the moment, I can't see past the man in the Peugeot. I cannot see past Daniel Kirby. He has been unstoppable, and I think still going to be unstoppable now as well. Look at that Peugeot. It is like an absolute graphic work of art. It is incredible how that car works.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the fact of Peugeot deciding to not upset the apple cart, but decide to go on and just try and showcase how fast that car is. I mean, we've seen, for those that have been watching the World Endurance Championship this season, that car has really sort of come a long way from its inaugural foray into endurance racing. It's a real treat, and I love the simplicity sometimes of some designs here, James, because it looks fast even when it's standing still in the pit lane.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful car, the XA, I've got to say. And if anybody hasn't taken a closer look at this car, you definitely should, because it is just beauty. the way it works, the way it channels the airflow through the middle or the front, you can see on the right-hand side, the way the wings come up, then it tucks it back underneath the car and sucks it back in again. Oh, mate, it's like eating a Big Mac and just, oh, you look at it, it's gorgeous. Anyway, talking of gorgeous, we've got Ross Smith in the booth with us this evening as well. Ross has come in during this warm-up session. Good evening, Mr. Ross. How are you?
Good, James. How are you doing?
I'm very well, mate. I'm always good. You know that. I love our informative chats that you're going to give me no information from at all. But I do love talking to you on a regular basis, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, well, same. Although I feel like I don't know, I want to call it uninformative. I feel like I give you all kinds of stuff, but
well, you
perspective.
You sent me a PowerPoint picture with a load of squigglies over it, and expect me to expect me to decipher what year it is on the historic season. But anyway, enough of that. Tell us what is going on in the world of Stormgang. What has been happening within the mod itself for R Factor 2?
Well, I'll start kind of high level with CMS, actually, because that has a lot to do with what's going to be going on next year. I mean, obviously, we got to get through this race here, but everyone's already looking ahead. We already have schedules out. And the biggest difference is that NARS, which is our Thursday sister league that runs mostly regional for the Americas, just because of the time slot, that is effectively taking on a complete IMSA schedule. So it's going to be running all of the American races, and then no longer will that be mirrored between VWSC. That one's going to focus predominantly on WEC. However, it is also going to do the Michelin Endurance Challenge Cup rounds as well. So there will be a few rounds where there's overlap, but that's it. So you're going to see some guys who use that day on Thursday, particularly from the Americas, get a slight advantage, get some practice in going that way, and actually, dry run a test. They're not going to have that option anymore, except for just a few tracks, and it'll open up the schedule. There are a lot more tracks on the schedule now for both series, so we kind of had to make a decision internally on how we wanted to approach that, and that was what we did, especially with the historic calendar, which is also slightly expanded. So, and we have a yet to be named series that's going to be coming forth. It will be endurance based, and probably a lot more what some of those drivers looking for driver swaps, your more traditional endurance type of competition. It's going to be housed within that type of structure. So we're going to see that being announced as we go into next year. Hopefully, if we get everything organized the way that we need to in terms of calendars and coordination and all that. But that's what's on the docket right now. So that is kind of the framework that is guiding everything going into next year. As far as Stormgang, we're plowing ahead. We've got testers full guns. We're going through, we're updating everything. Since we're focusing on Modern right now, kind of speak towards that. But one of the big changes besides the new cars coming in is going to be on the tires. And just like Michelin and Goodyear, they're doing a lot with what's happening across the tire world. We're also going to be updating ours. You're going to see things happen with minimum tire pressures. You're going to see things happen with allowable camber settings. And basically everything that's going to mimic the real world, since they're trying to make their tires have a better performance edge. And they're also going to be limiting the GT3s to just the one compound besides wets. So no longer you're going to see hard, medium, soft. You get one, and you got to figure out how to make it work. So that's going to be fun for the drivers to work through as we go through, especially as we start to supplant some of the Studio 397 content with our own and bring a lot of that parity together, where we have a lot more control. We don't have to worry about sudden, updates worming their way in and making havoc of things. It's going to be nice to have that all kind of locked down.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the exciting thing, isn't it? We've got coming forward as well. We're on for another full year calendar as well, Ross. You've got dates starting in January, and we don't finish till November. So we've got another sort of full year of the VWSC. It's going to be an exciting one for everyone, isn't it? Really, the way the calendar and the way it works out here.
Oh yeah. And we've got the calendar out there, at least for the modern stuff, so drivers can take a look. and figure out, you know, what they're doing in terms of their, I guess, vacations, or anything that might otherwise complicate things for them. But yeah, go ahead.
But I'm going to presume I'm all right to release the calendar, am I?
We're going to have, so it's provisional. I mean, you can certainly put it out there, but we are going to have an update to it where it's a little more finalized just to make sure that everything is copacetic. But either or, up to you, however you want to do it. But we know that we do have another one coming that will be at least a little bit prettier in some ways. I don't want to speak too poorly about the guys who worked out what we have, but it was a little bit stopgap to make sure that people had some information in front of them to begin with, and we still have the historic one to put out as well.
Okay, so I'll sit on it then, if that's, you know.
I think that's probably I think that's probably the best way of doing it, James. Just until everything's all firmed up, then it could be all guns blazing or pedal to the metal, so to speak. Huh?
Maybe. Right, so there's a lot going on. Historics. Now, you do know that I love talking about the historic seasons. We've obviously, you know, I've been sent an image that I've had to try and decipher, and I didn't do very well on that one. So, you know, I've kind of given up with that. Where are we at with the historics? Are they just out at testers at the moment, or is it something that, you know, we know the full detail. We're gonna get the full details at the last race of the season, right? But
yes,
are we gonna get any more little tidbits in the meantime?
I'm kind of locked down on a lot of what I can say, unfortunately. So I mean, we've been a little more loose-lipped with what's happening on the modern side. Obviously, we know that there are 3 Hypercars, 3 GT3s that are coming, and so I mean, there's more information about those, but the historics, I haven't really been allowed much latitude in terms of revealing there. But I can say that it will be multi-class, so you'll have two categories of cars. There will be some very popular marquees in the list, some very famous cars from history, and there will be 7 in total. There will be 3 on the top class, and there will be 4 on the bottom. So that's what I can give you so far. It's going to be great. We're going to be hitting some rounds, some tracks that are not found in today's championships, really. I mean, they are in their own, but not mixed the way that they were back then. So there's a ton of variety, and as we get into those, it's going to be just brilliant to watch, just because there's we're going to have a whole lot of fun as we go through.
Right, okay.
That's what I can tell you.
Which was, again, guys, minimal to what we had, but anyway, let's be honest about it. I didn't get the year. I'm still pushing him, but still not getting anything anyway. Let's go into today. Where are you sat with your own race today? What do you think's likely to be going on in the car of Ross Smith at this moment in time?
Well, as you saw, George and I didn't do terribly great on the qualifying effort. It's really tough here, just getting the setup to work. We're focused more on strategy for the long term, so you know, just because it's almost impossible to keep up on pace. We just don't have enough time into setup to get the car where it feels comfortable. So at the very least, we have something put together where we can work out a strategy, and based off of what happened on Thursday, where we think that it can be successful. It's just a lot of things have to happen and go our way. Obviously, there's a lot happening with the temperature and everything that's going to affect tires, and fuel strategy is going to be huge for both categories of cars. So it's going to be fun. If nothing else, I'm sure nothing could possibly go wrong.
He says with the greatest optimism in the world there. But no, I mean, Ross, I'm really excited about the fact that there's going to be one solid tyre compound that drivers are going to have to get to work, you know, rather than having the soft, medium and hards like, say, the GT3s this season. That's really going to sort of mix things up and really show who has got that opportunity of being the best out there. And, you know, one tyre compound to manage around, you know, what will be a multi-round calendar anyway for the next season is going to be something I think that the drivers are going to have a challenge for, but also the fans that watch the streams every single time, they're going to get some really, really good door-to-door racing, aren't they?
Yeah, Alex, you're absolutely right. And just to clarify, it will only be for the GT3s. The Hypercars will still have a both compounds, racing compounds to work with. So that'll still be at play. However, they are going to be adjusted. So you're going to see, we've mostly seen the softs get utilized through the year, and we're going to be adjusting things so that strategy requires a little bit more thinking, especially on the fly as conditions change and everything. There's a reason we're using live weather, so we want to make sure that it actually has an impact on the driving. But it's going to be fun. No matter what we do, it's gonna bring things more into reality, and what you see when you're tuning in to watch WEC or IMSA, it's going to be all on par with that.
One question from YouTube chat from Mr. Reese, as we know, who's been here for pretty much the whole of the season.
That guy's a VMP.
I know, tell me about it. He said, can you...
MVP. VIP. There we go.
VMP.
Yep.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, VMP.
MVP, I think you were probably saying most valuable person in the chat.
Yeah,
and he's a very important person too. I mean,
there you go.
Sorry, what was he saying?
He said, can you tell us about the era for the historic? Or is that something that, again, you can't really say without letting it out the bag?
I can tell you that it is before Group C. I know that covers a lot, but that's probably the most that I could get away with without inciting ire.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you very much, Ross, for joining us. You've got 8 minutes of the warm-up left there as well. It's been a pleasure talking to you, as it always is. And you never know, we might get to speak to you at the end of the race here, sir. But good luck today, mate. It should be a good one.
Well, yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks, Alex, as well. And I hope I can talk to you at the end. Probably not, since I'm not really in it for any of the championships at this point. But you definitely have a big lineup of people to talk to for the end of the season. So, you guys have fun with that, and we'll put on a show.
All right, man. Awesome stuff. Well, Ross, thank you so much for joining me there, bud. And let's see how you get on in the race.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care. It's very interesting when I have them conversations with Ross, and I have them on a round-by-round basis. You know, I edge little bits out of them, but I never absolutely get the definitive answer. You know, the year has never come out. As I say, he did send me a picture, and it was so grainy, I couldn't make it out. Like, literally, I couldn't. And he was like, well, why not? Other people could make out what it is. And I was like, mate, I don't know what they're looking at, but I wear glasses for a reason. You know what I mean? And,
I was gonna say, James, did you actually ask him? Did you put that through a Minecraft server or something?
Mate, it was incredibly squiggly wiggly, and there was lots of lines over it and everything blocking it from me to actually be able to see, and I couldn't make it out. But I've tried, and I've pushed him as much as I possibly can, and I still can't get it. So we're going to have to wait for the final round in the historic at Laguna on the 2nd of December, and only then will we find out what it is. So yeah, there we go. It's going to be an interesting one, but you know, look, respect for him to keep it tight to his chest, because you know, he's not going to want to let it out before then. So if you want to know what year it is, guys, you're going to have to come and tune in towards on the 2nd of December for the end of the historic.
Yeah, that's going to be yeah, and James has just sent me the picture, and I think, well, from what I can see out of the picture, I think I might have an inkling, but I'd probably be so far. I'd probably be trying to hit a home run, and I'd swing and miss and be striked out.
Yeah,
on the mound.
I couldn't make anything out from it, mate. I was just staring at it for ages, and I was like, "What is that? What am I looking at here?" And that's what he sent me. But I think the thing is, it builds a suspense, and I love their historic seasons. This season has just been absolutely incredible, and I think going forward, the fact that they come out and do something like that, you know, we've had the Ferrari 333, the McLaren F1 GTR as well, CLK, Mercedes, the R390, and then, of course, we've had the Penos Esperante GTR, and they've been amazing. I love the historics. I cannot wait to get that announcement, because then I'm just going to be like, oh, Incredible. But, you know, I've got to wait, unfortunately. I can't make out anything in that picture, but you might have better eyes than me. But I think it's going to be an amazing season, regardless of that one as well. And then the modern, of course. So, yeah, it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of thinking, he said before Group C, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it could actually be in Group C, folks. Let's be completely honest here. It could be early 90s. Judging by the silhouette, that's what it says to me. But as James said, we've got to wait and hold our horses, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, we're going to have a pretty packed grid. It's going to start under dusk, as it normally does, as tradition with the FIA World Endurance Championship, and then we'll be finishing under the lights. It will be a rolling start, as we always see, but a very, very packed grid as well, James. And we know that you certainly can't win on the first lap, but you can definitely lose a lot of positions going into this very, very tight complex from turns 1 to 3 as everyone's starting to grid up. And Alec King going, I'll give a little hint, the cars are icons. I think I might not be too far off where Ross might have been alluding to, but there you see everyone starting to grid up. It's going to be a packed grid because it's going to be a full formation lap as well, isn't it?
Yeah, full formation, Max. Solo, single line start, as it always is. Of course, we've got the orange zone that can go from it goes from the start line all the way coming out of turn 10. It doesn't mean that you can't overtake. It just means if you do overtake and cause a collision, your penalty will be much harsher than it is normally. So you can overtake there as well. The out there has said Group 5. Well, we don't know. Just to be honest, mate, we can guess anything. You know, we could guess literally anything, and they don't tell us. You're not going to get a definitive answer. As much as I love this, we're still not going to get an answer out of them. So we've still got to wait to Laguna anyway. But it is an interesting one to see. And Alec, of course, as we know, gives you a little hint. The cars are icons. Hey, boys, historics are going to make you very happy. Well, yes, it would be if I knew what they were.
We just got to wait until the last round of the historics on this particular season. But folks, they are on their formation lap around this fantastic 15-turn, 5.14 kilometre circuit. So, Daniel Kirby, the overall champion for this season of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship, starts from pole position. Alongside him on the front row will be Ernest Bernaldo. Then it's John Oyen and Tom Lane battling away for second in the championship standings. They will round out the top 4 ahead of Timon Suvic, Wouter De Bruyne, Jerry Chen and Gilles Lalonde. Several of those drivers, including Suvic and Lalonde, having to serve a stop hold penalty. And it's due to be, I think it is Oliver Newman due to start in front of Mika Lock in the Hypercar AM battle. Becky Ely will lead the field from LM3 GT pole position after her fantastic efforts in qualifying ahead of the likes of Takanashi, Monroe, Katarinakas. Zalecki has got to go all guns blazing to try and pick up the win and hope that Becky Ely might strike trouble. But we'll see what happens. Stuart Barge will be leading the field from AM. It's going to be a case of what's going to happen. But you know for a fact that Dan Kirby, he doesn't want to sit on the sidelines with a blanket and a nice warm hot cup of char. He wants to be racing and end the season with a win. We are just under 30 seconds away from getting the final round of this season. Virtual World Sportscar Championship underway with the 80 minutes of Bahrain. As you can see, dusk very much settling here at the circuit. Track temperature 36 degrees, air temperature 28. That is going to dip when we go underneath the floodlights fully. Main reason being, James, is that could be conducive, but very interesting that it could be 2 stops for hypercars. LMGT3s could also be a 2-stopper, but you've got to keep your head cool about this because we are about to come out of the final corner. And now the green flag waves. Daniel Kirby will lead the field onto this very, very long start-finish straight. And wait for it, brace yourselves, because the 80 minutes of Bahrain will be going green, green, green this time around. And Kirby has already bolted. That is a massive lead heading down into turn 1, 2 and 3. John Uyen trying to look up the inside of Bernardo into turn 1, but can't make head or tails of it. He's got Tom Lane in the 963, number 75, not too far behind, but Kirby has already bolted and he's built up a commanding lead as they head up this long back stretch down to T4. GT3 is getting underway with Becky Ely leading Takanashi. Monroe's into turns 1, 2 and 3, and she's already built up a slight lead of about 4 to 6 car lengths. So the leaders already getting the jump on the opposition early doors.
Yeah, John Uyan has made it vitally important. He's got to get away from Tom Lane. Daniel Kirby did what Daniel Kirby does best, and that's just escape. And he's escaped right at the beginning, as he always has done, right? He's got away. He's built up a 1 point, what's he got? 1 point, nearly 2 second gap already. 2 seconds already over this field. You know, he has been incredibly quick, and it has been absolutely amazing from Daniel Kirby. So yeah, great job from him. So let's see if he can hold it. Becky Ely's also done a jump away right at the beginning as well, and has done an amazing job. So she's doing what she needs to do. Everybody's doing what they need to be doing. So let's see how this one pans out.
Yeah, Katarinakis ahead of Zielecki, who's got to get a move on at the moment. The number 26 Acura, who was in the battle for the LMGT3 overall title, is fast seeing that opportunity slip out of his grasp. As Kirby completes the opening lap, his lead over Ernest Bernaldo is 2.3 seconds. Fastest speed around the circuit so far, 286 kilometers an hour by John Ewan, who's down in third position. Head of Tom Lane. The gap between them is about 3.5 tenths of a second. The two Porsches, well, Ross Smith has just broken the beam at 303 kilometers an hour. That's nearly 190 mph as Kirby makes his way through into what will be the conclusion of the opening sector. His lead now is 2.8 seconds. Kirby has already checked out, and we are not even 3 minutes into this race, the 80 minutes of Bahrain. There's the 12th place car. Ross Smith in the Acura ARX06, the 00, trying to close in on the 499p of Magnus Dahlgren in the Ferrari. The gap between them is around about 1.3 seconds. And that could slightly close as Louis Hesketh, third in the Hypercar AM race at the moment, rounding out the top 10, is behind Newman and Locke. There's been a yellow out. Oh no, that's not what you want to have happen there, Ross Smith, as that's brought out a yellow in sector 1. So that's dropped him to 15th behind the likes of Angelidis and Overton. So Ross Smith's race hasn't gotten off to the best of starts yet.
No, I think that's the thing. It's a tough circuit, but look, we have got 80 minutes, right? You know, they've got an hour and 20 here to drive round and recover. So I don't think that's too dramatic for him. He's down in 15th at the moment. It's been quite an interesting little battle along the line here. We've got Jerry Chen chasing down Wouter de Bruyn. Obviously, we're going to have loads of people start coming in, and Riki's been in already. Eugene Mazur has not actually taken to the grid. He's not started here. So unfortunately for Eugene Mazur, he looks like he is out already on the DNF list. Becky Ely again, she's done a Daniel Kirby. She's jumped 2 seconds over Yuki Takanashi, so that's great. And for, unfortunately, Jaime Zielecki, another one that didn't have a greatest of starts as well. He's obviously further down in class at the moment as well, nowhere near Becky Ely. I think, to be honest, if Becky Ely completes 75% of this, she should be able to do it.
Yeah, that's put Jamie Zielecki 12th in the LMGT3 class. And then you've also got to look at the AM. Stuart Barge is leading away 26th overall. Josh Lepetri in the McLaren 720S, number 72, is second, 28th overall. Matt Boyce in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2 in the 99 is currently third in class, 31st. Overall, as I've seen that Jesse Monrose has dropped down the order quite significantly and has just rejoined onto the circuit.
Yeah, Kevin Torrance, that was in the Mustang. Unfortunately for Kevin Torrance, he looked like he took a bit of a weird one. We'll have a look back at that now.
Yeah, so this is coming down into the... Oh, he's just completely skated off the circuit. Lost them. Oh, that was a tank slapper. Oh, nearly caught out the Lamborghini in the process. I think that might have been Matt Buse or the Mike Buse that he nearly caught over. coming across the start-finish line just had a big old tank slapper, tried to apply the loud pedal, and the back end of the Mustang just stepped out, pitched the car right, then decided to correct and go over the main part of the start-finish straight coming out of that final corner. That was so close. And I mean, that's not what you want. You don't want a Code Brown moment within the first 10 minutes of the race, because you've still got quite a bit still to go. Good evening, Phil, across the pond, as we've got a great battle here. This is John Uyen, who's gotten away from Tom Lane, is about 9.5 tenths of a second up the road. And this is the battle, I think. Is that was it De Bruyne?
No, Oliver Newman and Louis Hesketh battling away there as well. So they're doing a great job on that one. So yeah, they're fighting out. Of course, this is in the AMS on the Hypercar. Newman currently holding that second place. Louis Hesketh in third, and is chasing away. Now, obviously for both of these, they've got Magnus Dahlgren behind them. Dahlgren is just overtaken here Louis Hesketh, so he is put in his car in the middle, which will give both of them unfortunately made mistakes going down into turn 10 there, and unfortunately for them, they're now back together after both making mistakes at the same corner.
Well, they're both battling for 8th in the championship in AMS, so 2nd and 3rd. Mikolok, who's currently 5th in the championship standings, is leading the way in 7th overall. But yeah, Magnus Dahlgren closed in on them at a rate of knots and probably put the frighteners on them. Be very, very careful, Louis Hesketh, because that was a slight off track there for the 444. And then as soon as I say that, Oliver Newman's just obliged with an off track of his own, and now they've swapped to second. They're fighting it out like Dodgem cars at the moment, as Hesketh has Newman up the inside, and that is out of the final corner. Bit of a wobble there for Hesketh, and that allows Newman to pull a gap of about half a second coming across the stripe as we're on to lap number 7. Oh my goodness me, there's heart attacks aplenty.
Yeah, they're definitely throwing in the cars at each other here as well. They're battling away. Anybody would think it would be the last half of the race, and as you can see, it clearly isn't the last half of the race. This is literally the beginning of the race. You can see the gaps on the left-hand side there, guys, in each class as well. Hypercars, Kirby's he's out in front by 4.2. John Uyan is ahead of Tom Lane, which is important for their second place championship fight, and Newman and Hesketh obviously are on your screen at the moment. You can see Becky Ely's pulled out 4.2 over Takanashi, and Stuart Barge is nearly 6 seconds over Josh Lepetri. So a lot going on already, and some great fights happening amongst the field. But the people who need to be doing the job, Alex, are the people that are doing the job currently at the moment. And that is, of course, Daniel Kirby, who's going to wrap up the win. He's already taken the championship. And more importantly, Becky Ely.
I'm really interested in the battle for 3rd and 4th at the moment, because the 111 Peugeot of John Uyen versus the Porsche 963, the 75 of Tom Lane, they are very, very close together. It's about 0.3 of a second for 3rd place overall, but more importantly, it's 2nd in the overall standings in the hypercar class. And there is Louis Hesketh. He's dropped a lot of time. It's about 3.3 seconds between him and Oliver Newman. They're battling away for 8th place in the AM classification of the hypercars, as we have already had pretty much the first 10 out of 80 minutes of this final round of this season of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in. Also a shout out to our good friend Phil across the pond, saying evening James and team. Thank you very much, Phil. Always a very, very big fan of the and a regular viewer on the JPB network as well. So we are broadcasting on both, as I said earlier, the Champion Sim Racing and JPB networks as well, as that is going to be one of the, that is Zalecky, I think, that's just pulled out of the way of Hesketh. So I think Zalecky is just going to be probably, is going to have to reserve himself to the fact that, well, there's no way in God's green earth that I'm going to be catching Becky Ely, as we have got a yellow out in Sector 1 that's just been retracted. So a lot of dramas already, James, and we're just around about the 10, just over the 10-minute mark. So there's still a lot to play out in this race, isn't there? Oh,
absolutely. We've still got loads of racing to go. You know, we sit here at the moment, as you see John Uyan fighting his way through the traffic as well. I do love having a look on board when they start going through. You can just see him squeezing through, then he'll think about it, maybe look at putting his nose up again. Doesn't this time as well, as he goes past, I believe that's Mike Bruce there, and he's trying to fight his way as well. You know, and some of the ways that they're coming through the traffic, you look at it, and it is absolutely incredible. Daniel Kirby is an absolute master. We're coming around that final corner now, 4:14 and 15, before we go on that run forward. Now, obviously, Tom Lane has got to try and drop John Uyan, and that's the thing. Is he going to be able to do it? Is he not? Well, we will see. This is the battle for second between Lane and Uyan, so it's most important. Whoever finishes in front should technically win the championship. There is a bit of a gap, but it's not insurmountable, I think, for John Uyan, but he's got to be in front of him. That is an imperative situation. Obviously, there are other stories that we do know of that's happening at the moment. We'll have to see how they plan out, but I think for Becky Ely, with Jaime Zalecki being near enough, I think there's a lap down already. Just keep it on track, Becky. Just keep it on track. Go and, you know, take the car home, get that 70%, and see how you go from there. But Ernest Bernardino and Tom Lane, oh, very close.
Yeah, just been looking at the points. Tom Lane at the moment. Now, looking at the points that are allocated for this race here at the 80 minutes of Bahrain, it's going to be quite crucial because, well, Bernardo has just lost out, so Tom Lane has got himself into second position. Now, John Uyan is down in fourth. Second is 27 points. Fourth is 18 points. And when you look at it, if the positions were swapped around, John Uyan would pip Tom Lane by 1 point at the end of 80 minutes. But of course, we've still got those pit stops to navigate, folks. There's still that opportunity that if there's a problem in the pit box, if there's an issue, you just don't know what might happen. It has happened before where people have not hit their marks. They've had to reverse the car, push it forward again, and it's caused absolute chaos. And now the fact that Tom Lane has got between himself and John Uyan about a gap of about 2 seconds, plus also a car in front of him. Got another yellow out in sector number 1 here at the Bahrain International Circuit. And this is just, I think it's about the fact that John Uyan's got to do one thing. Not just push, but also just keep a calm head on those shoulders. You don't want to sort of go over aggressive, because if you do, as we saw in qualifying earlier on, James, you don't want to cause any flat spots on the tyres. You want to make sure that you navigate back marker traffic very, very easily, and don't commit unless you know you can make that move. And look at John Uyan just fire it around the outside of that McLaren there. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant of how the hypercars could just literally go, yep, and bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things with the hypercars, you know, that we all love. Their speed, their ability, their agility. They've got it all in these cars. And the fact that they're driving cars that some simulators haven't even got. You know, some of the simulators haven't even got these cars. And I think that is why they are incredible to sit and watch. And I think they've done an absolute stellar job with these. And it's so exciting to watch them weave through traffic. It's so exciting to see how they get on and just do that. Oh, they've just got speed for days in these cars. And it's absolutely incredible. Now, we are starting to get a little bit more spread out as the times go on, Alex, as we generally do see in these 60-80 minute races, and then we start getting them all back together on the pit stop. So that's going to be an exciting one as well. So I'm hopeful this should be all good.
Yeah, Philippe Henrique has just come out of the pit lane as well. Fastest recorded speed in the trap so far, 303 kilometers an hour by the Acura 00 of Ross Smith and the 174 Porsche of Matthew Overton. Michael Lock has just come out of the pit lane, so already within the first, what is it? That's next to nothing. That's 15 minutes that we're seeing some people come in. It's very, very early indeed. So the thing is also, if you want to get that, that first rapid stint out of the way, you are going to fuel the car a little bit different as Michael Lock nearly gets caught out by one of the McLaren back markers. Oh, that is really not going to help him at all. The gap between him and Oliver Newman has started to drop a little bit. It was about 2.7 seconds after the 0.5 Porsche exit out of the pits. It's now down to less than 2. So Oliver Newman has got a real head of speed and is closing that gap. Well, it was closing until I've just seen that Oliver Newman's delta has gone up to 5.3 seconds. But in the first sector, once Michael Lock got out of the pit lane, Newman was 2 seconds quicker. Hesketh is on an outlap now as well. So quite a few early pit stops starting to transpire.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if when we talked about the pit stops, we did say 2 stops, maybe a splash and dash, whether or not some of these guys have got their splash and dash out the way, whether or not it's, whether or not they've taken that last part almost of the splash and dash and now they're going to have 2 stops at a set time. That's a possibility, of course, as well, but we will see. There has been some off tracks here as well, guys. I'm not going to run through and show everything. I think a lot of them, there's been flagging up an off track on the outside of turn 10, and they've been obviously just running that little bit wide there as well. So I won't run through all of it at the moment, because otherwise it'd be just one big 15 minutes of off tracks at the moment, as it's popping up for pretty much most people. But I think overall, the battles itself with Bernardino and Uyan and Lane, now they're the 3 of them there. That's the 3. This is the 3 that we're going to have to keep an eye on at the same time. And I think this could develop as the race goes on. It's more of there's a weird part in a multi-class race like this as well over this period of time. It's kind of like the middle of the F1. They're just kind of ticking off laps, trying to get across, get their first pit stops out the way. And then we're going to hot heat up Alex as it comes to the end. And I think that's what we're possibly looking at with Bernardo and also Lane on Uyan. Don't get me wrong, Uyan's going to want to be in front of Bernardo, but it's always going to be tough when they're racing and they're so consistently near together. I think that's the problem. 143.3 for Lane, 143.1, 145 for Lane, 145 for Bernardo, and 145.2. So there's literally a 10th between the 3 of them as they're going over the line.
Yeah, Uyan's going to get a little bit of a possible long, good old slipstream here, because this is a very long start-finish straight around this 15-turn circuit here at Bahrain. The gap between Bernardo and Uyan Lane is now 2/10. Bernardo is looking very, very close indeed. He's going to try and get the cutback through into turn 2 and get the run out of T3. The Porsche now closing in. That's the 006 versus the 75. They've got a back marker in front of them. As Bernardo tries to get past it, that's one of the Lamborghinis. He gets through by threading the eye of the needle, and then John Uyan manages to get through in his own right. It's has full across the pond says, has Bex wrapped up her championship, or does she need this race? She needs to finish ahead of Zalecki, and Zalecki, folks, I really hate to say this, Zalecki is all the way down in 38th position and is not even close to finishing in the top 7. So Becky Ely just needs to get this race done and dusted. She's picked up the title, and it's well deserved. But we are riding on board with the 3rd placed hypercar overall, Ernest Bernardo in the 006, trying again to chase down Tom Lane. But John Uyan in the 111 Peugeot 9X8 is half a second away from the 006. So this battle here is not done by a long shot, folks. It's covered by about 1.2 seconds. And as they go through the longer straights, I mean, especially the back stretch going through turn 3 down to 4 is another one where the cars really pick up speed here, James. And it's a case of Lane has got to do everything. Cross the T's, dot the I's. Uyan has just got to go for it. And look at the closing speed from Bernardo. And that's going to be up the inside on Lane. That's going to be for 2nd position heading into T1, is it? Yes, it is. But no, Bernardo's round. Oh, dearie me. And I'm not too sure if there might have been a little bit of an assist there on the left rear by Tom Lane. It was very difficult to tell by that camera angle.
Oh, there's news. There is news here as well. Jaime Zalecki is out. He is out. He hit the brakes on his Hussenbelt, and they shifted 4 inches back. And he can't, they're all wonky, he can't do anything. Hayden Cownan is also another one that's out. He's had hardware failure. So there's a lot of failures have gone on here as well at the moment. Brandon Gant is also out as well. So yeah, it's a couple of hardware failures for Jaime Selecki and Hayden Cownan. And yeah, Selecki tried to compensate it by moving his chair, but his chair just couldn't do it. His pedals, they're super wonky is his description.
No.
His description, and he can't get them fixed. So unfortunately, there as well, he then had full brake issues, and he couldn't get the car stopped. So he's had to quit out for Jaime Selecki. Now, obviously, it's not going to be good news because I'm sure Becky Ely didn't want to quite wrap it up that way. But if she completes 75% of the race, she's going to be the champion. Yeah, not a great end to end for Selecki, but unfortunately it is what it is on that one.
Yeah, Becky Ely now leading the class. Katarinakis is second in the LMGT3 classification ahead of Yuki Takanashi. Brendan Warner and John Mayer complete the top 5 in the class ahead of James Walker, who's 26th overall. Becky Eady running 20th overall, is running on the yellow marked soft compound tyres, and she has built up and bridged a gap between herself and the rest of the competition. Of course, that might very soon change because Philippe Henrique, who had to have that stop hold 120-second penalty, is closing in. No surprise that when you get the closing speed of a hypercar onto an LMGT3, you are going to see one thing: someone's getting overtaken. But Becky Ely has done exactly what she needed to do. But that is not the triple one. That's John Oyen. He's fading. He's fading in these early stages, and we are already we've got under an hour to go. John Oyen now really has to start fighting. Michael Locke now currently 5th in the classification overall, and the leading Hypercar AM entry in the 05 Porsche 963. So John Oyen, he's got to really start digging a little bit deeper now. And as I said, he's got to be calm, but he's also going to have that controlled, ruthless aggression streak to try and get through on Ross Smith. And then, I mean, he's already done. The main thing is he's already done one of his pit stops.
Yeah.
So that's why the changes happen. So I'm going to be interested to see when Lane pits, when Bernardo pits, De Bruyne and Smith, because that is going to be very, very close indeed as to what transpires in the next 56.5 minutes or so. That's going to be the crucial point here, James.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think over the next 56 minutes, we're going to see some very interesting situations develop on track. Now, this has been a bad day for hardware. As we know, Hayden Cownan, full hardware failure. Jaime Selecki, his brakes went, and unfortunately for him, he is out. For Eugene Mazur, who couldn't start the race, his sound was delayed between what he should have been hearing and what he was actually hearing on the pace lap. So he had to retire the car because his sound was all a little bit skew with, and he couldn't actually hear what was going on at the same time between what should have been happening and what actually was happening. So yeah, there we go. Unfortunately for the 4 cars that are out at the moment, they've all been hardware or some form of technical failure. Overton is in, Michael Locke is in, Willem Benck is in, and Wouter de Bruin is in as well. So people coming into this pit stops, 55 minutes, that's probably near about what we would expect from a circuit of this size, round about that 20 to 25 minute mark, Alex. So there as well. John has stopped. No, John has pit stopped. So
is Daniel Kirby, who's now rejoined in 6th position. So yeah, quite a lot of pit stops. So Benjamin Porteous Heath in the Toyota GR010, the number 326, takes the de facto lead in the Hypercar AM battle. I think with the way things are going, when Ross was saying to us earlier that the GT3s will be able to go for a little bit longer, of course, yes, They haven't got the significant amount of aero that these hypercars have got, with also the hybrid deployment. They're just standard internal combustion engines. So we're going to see those cars go for a little bit longer, but I'm really going to be interested to see what tyres the GT3 drivers decide to switch to if they want to try and eke out that one-stop strategy, if they can. But that's going to be easier said than done. So expect at least 2 stops for hypercars, maybe with some having a splash and dash. With the LM GT3s, I think, yeah, 2 stops would be de rigueur, and it'll probably be the fastest way to get around this circuit. But keep your eyes on what's happening here, because this is, that's Daniel Kirby, and that is going to be the move for second on Timon Suvic, who's just been pipped by the man who's really done a number on everybody else this season here in the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. And Daniel Kirby makes it a CMS Pro 1-2 with John Uyen now having pitted and is leading, but that gap is coming down.
Yeah, he is at the moment, but he's obviously got his teammate Dan Kirby behind him. Now, this is where this CMS Pro could literally play the team game. To get John Uyan at second place, what Kirby could do is sit in behind him and just defend John Uyan. They both have stopped, so they're both near enough round about the same point. Tom Lane's down in 5th at the moment. Now, as this would stand here, John Uyan would gain 38 and Tom Lane would gain 15. So it's more doable that probably at the moment, where are we at? I think they're 10 points back, are they? I think at the moment.
7 points adrift coming into this final round of the season.
So,
198.5 for Tom Lane and 189.5 for John Uyen.
Yeah, so that could, basically, that will give Uyan 23 points. He's coming in now not far back behind him. I think it's, what is it, 89, 9 points back. So that will give him the win. But it's only if Kirby's going to sit in behind him and play that team game. There's John Uyan, there's Dan Kirby, Kevin Torrance in the middle. So let's see what happens here as well. This could be very, very interesting for these CMS boys, and it could lead to some great team racing if Daniel Kirby, I suppose, is willing to do that with John Uyan.
And the key word that you mentioned there, James, and I'm going to enunciate it, is the word willing.
Yeah.
Because, well, Dan Kirby just took, John Uyen went through Sector 1 with the 31.8. Daniel Kirby, 31.1. So obviously someone's got the waft underneath their ground effect, and that is the number 90 at the moment. That gap has now gone underneath 7.7 seconds. As, make that 7.5 seconds. So Kirby is absolutely flat chat and is going to try and catch up with his teammate. But of course, yes, I think you're right in saying that there could be a little bit of CMS Pro team planning or team strategy. It could really help get not only, they've already secured the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship, but it's about getting that Grand Chelem, getting the 1-2 and getting the team's title at the fight, securing all 3 by the end of the championship season. So that's going to be crucial, but I'm waiting to see what Daniel Kirby's second sector is. John Uyen, 47.4. Daniel Kirby, no surprise here, 45.981. That is incredible pace by the man who has literally had multiple different wins over this championship season, and he's just filtering through backmarker LMGT3 traffic, threads the eye of the needle down the start-finish straight between 2 of them, and just goes, right, I'm on my way, Johnny boy.
Exactly, and he needs to really, because there's Kirby in the background. As I said, whether or not that team game's going to develop, I think that will be quite exciting if it does develop. That's really about the stories that we've got going on at the moment. They're obviously, you're seeing cars on the screen, but some are backmarkers, some are not fighting each other. Daniel Doig is another one who's mixing it up here at the moment as well. And again, this is at the 1v1 battle for Daniel Doig, and that is Concalves in front of him. So that's a battle on track at the moment. These guys are fighting it out. Everybody else, is, including the Hypercars, is a little bit more spread. One man that isn't spread out at the moment is Timon Suvic. He was there just briefly having a battle with Gilles Lalonde. Gilles in another 9x8, of course, as well. They were fighting it out at that moment in time, but Timon Suvic has gone through and taken it. So it's that lull period now, and be aware that when these second pit stops come back in, it's going to get quite hectic here, and I think it could end up being a very, very interesting end. Hayden Cownan has come out and said there should have been a screw there, as he sent a picture in the Discord with a screw in his hand, and he said he couldn't turn without the wheel tilting. So anybody that drives a sim will know that that is not good. So unfortunately, yeah, 4 hardware failures at the moment, and they've all been for different things. Cownan with his steering wheel, Jaime Zelecki with his brake pedal, Brandon Gant as well had an issue with the car, it was just too oversteery, and Eugene Missouri had an issue with his sound that wasn't quite coordinating. So yeah, tough one for these guys so far, but we've still got 48 minutes remaining, and there's been some nice little action here, and now we're following along with Matt Boos and Josh LePetri as they battle it out for the second and third in the LMGT3 AM category.
Yeah, and no real... Well, Mike Boos has already pitted in the number 98 Lamborghini Huracan GT Evo 2, and currently runs 6th in the AMS. So Kevin Torrance in the Mustang, I think, is also swapping over tyres, so will be affecting that first pit stop. So we haven't really seen a lot of it. Well, James Zelecki obviously retiring. Stephen Miller has been in the pit lane twice in number 424 McLaren 720. So there is still quite a lot of action still to happen over the next 47 minutes and 47 and 3/4 minutes here at the 80 minutes of Bahrain. So folks, we want to hear from you people out there in chat. Who are you cheering on tonight? We want to hear from you wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Who do you think are going to be our respective podium sitters, in no particular order, or whoever are you cheering on? Let us know. But I think we're going to have a quick chat with Jamie Zelecki. Jamie, firstly, thanks for jumping in. A real shame to hear about your pedal set having a major problem when you applied the brakes. Just tell the audience exactly what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a shame it happened at turn 1, lap 2, but you know, hairpin at turn 1, I slammed the brakes down full pressure like I've done for the last, I don't know, 6-7 months, and I fully understand what drivers say when they say the brake pedal went to the floor. Oh,
that's... But I mean, it's been a really, really close battle between you and Becky all the way through this season. You knew that you had to put it all on the line tonight, but it didn't quite go your way, which is a real unfortunate shame. But tell us about your season from your perspective on how well you've done so far, despite the dramas tonight.
We had some ups and downs, you know, winning Le Mans with Vasilis as the co-driver. That was the highest of pies, and here we are with a brake failure at Bahrain. But the NSX was a difficult car for me to get around. In ACC, it really fit my driving style, and this version, not quite so much. I was having a lot of trouble with snap oversteer on overheated rear tires, but all in all, I think it was a pretty fun season. Happy I was here. I'm happy I didn't kill Vasilis in turn 1 with the brake failure. That would have been awful, but you know, a good season. Probably not going to be in the NSX again next year. Looking forward to see how we get on next year and maybe go for the championship again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's quite interesting you say. I mean, what did you run before the NSX, if you don't mind me asking, for this season?
Yeah, last season I was in the Aston Martin, and then the season before that we were running GTE, and I was in the Ferrari.
So 3 changes of cars, so change number 4 coming very, very soon for the next season. Well, Jamie, thanks for jumping in ever so briefly, and it's been a real pleasure to have a chat with you. And enjoy the rest of the race from the spectators' position, but thanks for joining us in the booth.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the broadcast, and I want to just very quickly thank George and all the CMS admins and all the team at SGS for putting on a great show.
Awesome stuff, mate.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So, yeah, a real shame for Jamie's championship charge in the overall standings. You know, it was still going to be nip and tuck. We thought that it was going to be a case that Jamie was going to have to push there, James. But you know what? He's looking ahead. He's taking those bad, you know, those knocks on the chin. You know, he's still doing really, really well. He's really excited about next season, and that's what I think that. Yeah, you might have a bit of a downer in the final race of this season. It's more a case of, you know, dusting yourself off, get yourself ready for the next season, and have at it again in a different change of car. And that'll be the 4th different change in 4 respective seasons for Jamie Zalecki.
Yeah, I think it's always difficult changing cars, but I think you've got to try and find a car that you think would suit your style. He obviously thought the NXX would, being that he's driven it in previous series and other simulators, but clearly it hasn't. Now, obviously, he can't help a brake failure at the end, and that's the shame. He can't, you know, you can't push on a brake and think, oh, it's working, and then all of a sudden your foot's down to the floor and you're barely stopping the car. So, you know, failure's failure, and I think that's the thing. That's what we're relying on as drivers online. Well, not so much me, and probably not so much you, to be honest, but other people who do this, you know, situation continually are relying on things like that not failing. You know, from our point of view, obviously we're in the same boat. If our electric goes, our internet goes, the game crashes or something, it's all going to go a little bit wrong for us. So there are a lot of factors to get these out to people and get drivers on the track, because as we know earlier on with obviously our dear friend Mr. Jake Sansom, who was going to be joining us, his electric went, so it's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, and I'm sure Zalecki will be back. I don't doubt a second he's going to come back, and he'll come back more determined, and I think it will be a really interesting season next season on what happens here as well. There's obviously going to be some movements within the promotions and the demotion stage, because obviously people have won championships and stuff like that, and obviously Becky might fancy jumping into a hypercar. We don't know. She does the McLaren in the GT1 in the historic season, so she might fancy jumping into a hypercar, but who knows? But all I do know is it's going to be absolutely epic here as well. We're still talking with the guys at CMS about broadcasting the next season as well, so that announcement, once that's all wrapped up, I'm sure will come out as well, so keep your eyes on that one, because it's going to be very interesting over the next few weeks. And don't forget, guys, 2nd of December is last historic, and if you want to find out what era we're going to, well, you better tune in.
Yep, speaking of Becky Ely, she's still currently leading the way. 18.3 seconds ahead of Vasilis Katanaikis. Yuki Takanashi still rounding out the top 3 in LMGT3. With John Mayer ahead of James Walker in the 47 Aston Martin Vantage GT3. We have now seen every single, well, pretty much everybody in the Hypercar and the LMGT3 take their first pit stop. Whilst we were speaking with James, it was a case of that Becky did actually dive down into pit road and get the NSX serviced, as this is getting very, very close here. Now, this is a hypercar battle that I'm very, very much keeping my eyes on, as it is Acura versus, I think, well, Acura is one of them. Oh, well, it's a pair of Acuras. My apologies there. These liveries are catching my eyes out. Something chronic at the moment, James.
Yeah, there's so many different ones. Obviously, it's tough for you coming in, obviously helping out today as well. So it's going to be tough, you know, for you to get them. But they are stunning. Some of the liveries have been absolutely amazing, and I think it's great that they've come out and this is what they've come up with and stuff like that. I think it's absolutely awesome. I love these cars in general. They are just gorgeous, and I almost thought about jumping onto R Factor to see if I could drive the Peugeot. You know, I would say drive it well, but probably not as well as these guys, Alex. I think that's the thing. So, yeah, it is going to be a tough one. But yes, an answer to your question, the out there's, yes, Miami and Laguna. So keep an eye on that one as well. But yeah, it's been some interesting things happening. Hardware failures is kind of really the main point at the moment. John Uyan is in the pits again. So that's 39 minutes. He went in at 1:05. He's gone 25 minutes. He's gonna have to go again. And I am wondering, that discussion we had about the splash and dash, whether or not that first splash and dash was that first pit stop for some of the really early ones, because of the way that obviously that we knew pit stop strategy was going to be a main point of it, and I think a lot of them have got that splash and dash out the way early to then refuel and then put themselves into kind of a better position beforehand. So Mike Boos here is still trying to chase away on Josh Lepetri in front. That is Stephen Miller in front of them. That is technically a back marker for them, as well as Miller looks like he's had another challenging evening of racing. It is yeah, it's been tough for Stephen Miller over the last few rounds here as well. But for Boos and Lepetri, they're going to be still scrapping it out once more. So let's see how it all pans out here, bud. I think this could be an epic ending to what has been a great season.
Yeah, your current class leaders, Hypercar overall Daniel Kirby, now leading Ernest Bernaldo by about 24.5 seconds. Mika Lock leading in Hypercar AM ahead of Oliver Newman. The gap between them is around about the 11.5 second mark. Becky Ely leading in LMGT3 overall ahead of Vasilis Katerinakis by about the best part of 20 seconds. And Stuart Barge and Josh Lepetri 18 seconds adrift. But Matt Boos is definitely trying to close on in. That gap is getting slower and slower. And Boos has got to try and get through on the McLaren in front of him at the moment. So that's going to be easier said than done, especially when you're in the same class. And there is a Hypercar closing in on them very, very quickly indeed. And has just decided to fly on past. That's one of the Porsches that has just got through on them. And again, when we've got these back straights, and also one of the other things that Bahrain you don't always see, and that's the undulations. That's Jerry Chen in the 66 now pulling into pit road. So that'll be a pit stop for him. But Matt Boos trying to get through on the Porsche, on the McLaren to his immediate left-hand side, and has got the job done. Now was that the change with Lepetri? No, it wasn't.
No, it was lapping.
7th in the class, wasn't it?
Yeah, lapping Stephen Miller, but that seemed to be a lot harder than it probably should have done there from Miller. Yeah, I won't go into where I normally end up going with that one, but
otherwise you'd be controversial.
I'll be controversial. When am I not controversial? I end up talking to myself into things without actually talking myself into it. I can be controversial by actually just saying something. So, you know, I'll try and keep it relatively away from the controversy. And James, can I have a word from the stewards the following morning or something? Which is where I normally find myself.
That. Yeah, I remember us having that conversation about said stewards needing a chat with you about what happened previously. We're not going to get into that one, but I'm just really interested to see how much closer Matt Boos can close in on the 72 of Josh Lepetri. This battle for second position in the AM LMGT3 class is really heating up as we are fast approaching 36 minutes still to go of the 80 minutes of Bahrain. We're at the final round. I think it's the 13th round of this season of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship, and Matt Boos trying to do a number on Josh Lepetri. It's getting closer and closer, is that gap. It has expanded at times. It's also concertinaed at times, and hopefully it's quite interesting when we have a look at the discussion in the Discord as well, where Eugene, as you're saying, looks like Becky was saying to Jamie Zalecki, looks like Becky was able to contact someone at your household and assassinate you by compromising brakes as a jest. But then we see a couple of Hypercars pull into pit lane, line astern, and there's Lepetri being closed in on by Boos. The gap is still coming down. It's half a second heading into turn 1. So this is for the second rung of the rostrum in this race here at Bahrain. The track temperature has significantly dropped from 36 at the beginning of the race from track temperature. It's now 30. And James, over the next 35 minutes, that is going to drop even further as they've got a fast charging. I think that's Daniel Kirby just behind them.
But I think
John Uyan.
Yeah, I think it's Uyan. Yeah, it is. But he's made light works of them coming through 5, 6 and 7 as he's going to go into the tricky right-hander of 8. So that's going to be an interesting thing and a development as well. Buse and Lepetri are still battling it out and they're still going at each other. The problem is now we've got this hypercar situation. That's Enrique, of course, who we know suffered the harsh penalty as Lepetri takes a different line. Enrique. Oh, that's good. Buse to get up alongside Alex.
He did, yeah. Lepetri made a bit of a howler, and Buse is through for second position, but they've got another hypercar closing in on their 6. That's another one of the Acuras. No, I think that's the Acura, or is that the Caddy? I can't tell again. Yeah, I think it's just again that these hypercars are just having to make their way through, and now Buse has bolted away from Lepetri ever so slightly. The hypercar's going to go in between the pair of them, and Lepetri has to be very, very careful now. So does Buse. Now Lepetri has the drag behind Buse coming down this backstretch, and there's another car closing in on Lepetri, who's swarming all over the back of him. Is that the 4th place car in that?
Yeah, it's
not great.
No, it's Takanashi, I believe. I think it's well, it's not Takanashi actually. Is it John? No.
Just trying to catch a number, to be honest with you, but yeah, it's yeah. Well,
who is that?
Well, that was definitely a McLaren of some description.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. 6. That'll be Jesse Monroe's. Yeah, in the 22. So
this is actually a track position battle. Yeah.
More to the point that Monroe's is currently 6th in the GT3 overall side of things in this race. So the quicker that Jesse can get past Lepetri, but then that's also going to compromise Lepetri in his battle with Buse, that second position. And look at the 2 McLarens. You can't really, you can't really separate them at the moment because Lepetri's having to go defensive. There are 2 further hypercars. Oh, Lepetri gets a bump from behind.
Yeah, he did. Monroe's run in there as well, and I think that's Timon Suvic coming through in the hypercar along with Gilles Lalonde there as well, so they're going to have to be a little bit careful. I'm sure it is Timon Suvic because that is Gilles Lalonde there once more. So Gilles Lalonde in at 9x8 having a tough situation going on with him. As you can see, Lepetri and Monroe still scrapping it out, coming down into the left-hander of turn 11. Monroe's has gone up the inside now as well, so he has taken that overall position away from Lepetri. But obviously for Monroe's situation, he's sitting currently in 6th position in the LMGT3s. Why obviously Lepetri and Buse are battling it out in the LMGT3 AMS. So, that's how that one's working out. Matthew Overton is chasing down on Ross Smith. He's got a gap of about 6/10 at the moment here. So a lot of action coming at the moment, but it's coming in spurts. It's not coming in one big full thick and fast action. It's coming that Buse and Lepetri are battle. Buse has got through and run away. Now we've got Ross Smith with Matthew Overton. Well, that's over because Overton's into the pits. So it's tough at the moment because when they get near each other, they kind of dissipate away from each other again. But let's see how Jesse Monroe's and he tackles Matt Buse, who's in front of him currently at the moment. So yeah, interesting battles, but they're coming in fits and starts, Alex, and not all coming at the same time.
Yeah, Wouter De Bruyne and Magnus Dahlgren have served their second pit stop. So has Michael Locke, so has Jerry Chen. So is John Uyan, so who we know is going to have to do another pit stop before the end of this race. So yeah, it's going to be quite crucial how Tom Lane responds to it. Now, Tom Lane in the number 79 Porsche has been able to go longer on that opening stint. So Lane has the strategic advantage. Daniel Kirby has also pitted for the second time, so Ernest Bernardo is about 17.6 seconds up the road at this moment in time, and the fastest car through the speed trap, well, there's two of them, both of them Acuras. Brian Hall all the way down in 18th overall, and Timon Suvic in 5th, who's about 25 seconds behind the 111 Peugeot of John Uyen in 4th place. But Uyen is closing in on Tom Lane, because Lane just hit a 147.6. John Uyen a 144.1, and that gap is now south of 1.4 seconds.
Yeah, he is at the moment. Some nice, interesting little things going on with Uyan and Tom Lane. So let's see how this one materializes. We know it's for that second place. We know that's what he's got to be to do for Uyan. He's got to get past Lane regardless of this situation. So let's see how it goes. He clears Takanashi nice and easy, but let's see what happens here as they're still battling it out and seeing how this championship pans out.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to the points, third is... well, effectively, he's got to... Uyen, as I said, has got to be second across the line. It's got to be second, and Lane has to be 4th. That's the key point. If Lane finishes ahead of Uyen, or Uyen is only one position ahead of him, as they were nearly making nearly a little bit of a kiss on the bet on the cheek there from John Uyen to Tom Lane. But now you can see the Peugeot really starting to put the frighteners on the Porsche. That gap is less than half a second, as a little bit of a wider carry out of the corner by John Uyen, who's going to look. Lane defends. Uyen to the outside. This is coming down, I think, into the final corner. They're wheel to wheel, and out of the final turn. Is Uyen going to get the crisscross? Is he going to get the cut back? They're going to be side by side. The speed increases to north of 150, maybe close to 180 miles an hour. Uyen noses ahead, and he's through for 3rd place. Great exchange there by Uyen and Lane coming out of that final corner. Uyen was waiting for the opportunity to strike, and now has gotten through and has pulled a gap.
Yeah, definitely. He's done an absolutely stellar job. There was a very late move from Lane coming into that corner as well. So whether or not that might be looked at, as it looked like he was almost in that braking area before he started moving across. So we'll see what happens with that one. If John Uyan feels he's aggrieved by it, he might put something in. But I think at the moment, this is important for Lane, for Uyan. He's got to get away from Tom Lane, and he has to try and put himself. It's like that opportunity. They say fate is only decided by yourself and what you can do. If fate is only decided for John Uyan at the moment, he needs to go and do what he's able to do in that car. He has led this race, albeit for a couple of laps due to pit stop cycles, and he's now opened up the gap to Lane behind him. So let's keep an eye on this one, see how this one develops, how it brews. It's kind of reminding me like a Victoria sponge in the oven. It's just nicely kicking away until that moment when you need to get it out, otherwise you're going to end up with a burnt one. But I'm sure these guys will not end up doing that, and you can see Uyan's opened up a gap. He's clearly quicker than Lane. He's clearly making the most of the best situation that he has got in front of him at the moment. So go John Uyan. Give yourself an opportunity, Alex. You might come out with the spoils. If you go out there and mess up, you ain't going to come away with nothing. And John Uyan at the moment is doing a stellar job.
He's just got to roll the dice and not get snake eyes in the minute. But considering the fact that Tom Lane's last lap was a 147.7, Lane now pits. He was also on the medium compound tyres as well, which is why John Uyan, and also, I think, is Bernardo in the pits as well? Yes, he is. So that now means, at this moment, it's going to be a case of who's going to be in the pit. Well, Bernardo has been in the pits for just like, well, he's been stationary for over 40 plus seconds. So it's going to be interesting to see when Tom Lane comes out. But we also have to remember that John Uyan has already made 2 pit stops. So is Daniel Kirby. So the crossover point is going to be the key thing that we've got to think about here, folks, because we have got 26 minutes still to go. Again, yellow sectors popping up like nobody's business. It's been like a Christmas tree at the minute, all the way through this. For what we've had so far, we are not that far away from hitting 20 minutes to go, so we are nearly at 3/4 of the time having elapsed here at the 80 minutes of Bahrain for the final round of this season of the the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. As John Uyan at the minute, well, Tom Lane has rejoined down in 6th. So that's 27 points to Uyan at the moment if things were to finish as they are. And Tom Lane on 12, which is effectively a 15-point change, and that would put John Uyen 8 points ahead of Tom Lane coming into the final 26 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, yes, and we do believe that Mr. Uyan has got one more pit stop to make, and he's going to be making it within about the next 10 minutes here. We've got a funny feeling he's going to be making it within the next 10 minutes, so let's see what happened as well. In that fight, I think that's going to be a very interesting one to see how it develops. Now, we've also just lost Brendan Warner. I'm trying to see if there's anything that notably have come up for Brendan. I have messaged him to see what's happened here as well. I'm hoping this isn't another form of failure, because I can't actually see anything that he's been up to. So hopefully it's not that situation and we can get away from tech issues here this evening. A lot of the cars are spread out at the moment, but if we give you a rundown of classes, Alex, starting with the Hypercars.
So Daniel Kirby leading John Uyen. It's a CMS Pro 1-2, 17 seconds adrift. Ernest Bernardo running out the top 3. Wouter De Bruyne in the BMW M-V8 Hybrid rounds out the top 4, with Timon Suvic now dropping down from what was 4th.
Oh, bless
as
you.
the accuracy. Thank you very much. With just under 26 minutes to go, Timon Suvic had been the longest one out there for his second pit stop. Tom Lane in 5th, Magnus Dahlgren, Jerry Chen, Timon Suvic, George Andelidis, Ross Smith, Eric Monnier, Matthew Overton, Gilles Lalonde, and Brian Hall round out the running order in the Hypercars. The Hypercar AM class currently being led by Michael Locke in the 05 Porsche 963. Oliver Newman in the 62 BMW M V8 Hybrid ahead of Louis Hesketh. And then also the likes of Benjamin Porteous Heath, who at one point was leading, the number 326 Toyota GR010. Guilherme Benke in the Soul Caddy V LMDH, and Philippe Henrique, who actually not only had a spin in qualifying, but has also had a spin earlier on in the race, rounds out the AMS in the Hypercar. It's Becky Ely, champion-elect in the overall running for LMGT3. She's currently 27.7 seconds ahead of Vasilis Katerinakis, with Yuki Takanashi rounding out the top 3. It's 3 Acuras in the top 4, courtesy of the 88 of John Mayer, the Aston Martin Vantage, the number 47 of James Walker rounding out the top 5. Jesse Monroe's the 22 McLaren 720 is 6th ahead of Vinicius Goncalves in the Audi R8. Following on from that, Daniel Doig. And then we have 4 DNFs on the fly. Hayden Calnan, Jamie Zalecki, Brandon Gant and Brendan Warner out. And then it's Stuart Barge, who is on course to take a win in the LMGT3 AMS, leading by about 24 seconds ahead of Matt Buse, with Josh Lepetri, Craig Pullen, Mike Buse, Kevin Torrance and Stephen Miller rounding out the drivers still running. Unfortunately, Eugene Mazur not able to take the start, as we are 22 minutes away from the checkered, as Enrique comes into the pit lane in the number 3 Acura.
It goes in again, does Felipe Enrique. Of course, he got his penalty right for the beginning from the last race. Stop and hold for 120 seconds. He must have just sat there and, you know, I don't know, counted sheep or whatever, because 2 minutes in the pits is always going to be a tough one. We can bring you up the overall where they are on track at the moment. And as you can see here, there's some mixtures of pro and AMs. We've got Michael Locke in 8th, Oliver Newman in 9th. They're ahead of the likes of George Angelidis, Ross Smith, Timon Suvic, Eric Monnier and Matthew Overton. We got Louis Heskev there as well. So that's a nice little bit of a tidy mix. And then down in the GTs, we've obviously got Matt Boos, who's mixing up. He's ahead of Concalves Doig, and obviously the 4 DNFs there as well. So, you know, it's been an interesting day. It's been an interesting race. I don't think really people have been miles off the pace, Alex. I think obviously, you know, hardware failures we can't help. That's regardless, and I think a lot of people have done really well here in Bahrain. You know, it's the final race of the season. And now we've got Wouter de Bruin tackling with Bernardo here as well. So we've still got this battle materialising here once more. Red Sim Cockpit, love the stream and commentary. I plan on joining the VWSC for 24. Nice, that would be absolutely stellar to see you on track here.
Yeah, Magnus Dahlgren in the Sol Ferrari 499P pits. And the way things stand also, looking at it from this perspective, the battle for 8th place in the Hypercar AM battle, it looks to be going the way of Oliver Newman, who is now 8th and is 8th but 2nd in the AM Hypercar classification, and about 17.8 seconds behind Michael Locke. But yeah, Wouter de Bruin closing in on Ernest Bernaldo. So this is Munich versus Weissach in the final step of the rostrum overall in this race, and Wouter de Bruin is closing that gap on that Porsche of Bernaldo. And looking at the previous lap times, they were very, very much matched on pace. 1:45.533 for Bernaldo. De Bruin was slightly slower in that opening sector. Gaps now opened up to 1.1. So the Porsche very good in the twisty stuff, but the BMW really gets a surge of waft coming down these long straights, especially coming out of turn 3 and heading down to this very tight right-hander here at turn 4. And it seems to be a little bit better on the brakes. You can see the way that De Bruin just nails that apex. Well, that was actually coming out of the final corner. So from that perspective, the BMW starts to stretch its legs as John Uyan has gone in for his final pit stop. And the key point we've got to now watch for here, how long is he going to be stationary for? And the other question is, when did Tom Lane last make a pit stop, James, is the big question, because sometimes with 4 classes of racing, multi-class racing at its finest, it's very difficult sometimes to keep an eye on time indexes on when they pitted at points.
Yeah, it definitely is. You can see Tom Lane's got 2 on the board. Uyan's got 2 as well. So it would be an interesting development to see how this comes out. Now, obviously, Uyan has just gone in, I believe. So De Bruin and Bernardo have jumped there. So I think overall, as this race goes on, we haven't got many minutes left. We've only got 18 minutes available to these guys. So let's see what develops here. This isn't done, I don't think, Alex. I think there's still more, as you put it, waft under the pedals. So let's just see how this materializes. I'll be very interested to see where Uyan's at and what his situation is with fuel, and whether or not he's gonna have to go in, or if he's just done, if he's done now. So let's see that. But Tom Lane's a long way back, me, you know, and I don't think he's gonna be able to get anywhere near Uyan. But never say never, Alex. I think that's the thing. There's still traffic there. There's still anything can happen, as we've seen with the disconnects and everything else. So I'm not going to count him out, but I'm struggling to see how he's going to be in there. And obviously with the current point situation where they're sat at the moment on here as well, it's, yeah, I'm going to have to do some quick maths to try and work this one out, but I will be there very shortly. Where's Uyan at the moment? Uyan's in 4th. Lane's in 5th. I don't think they're going to stay there. And that isn't enough points for Uyan. He needs Tom Lane a little bit further back. So he needs Bernaldo and really Wouter de Bruin to come into the middle. So Uyan can get the 27, and then Tom Lane will only get the 15. That alone will give him just enough, and I believe it will only give him just enough by about 3 to 4 points, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, something like that, because Tom Lane at the moment is 5th. John Uyan is trying to close that gap to Ernest Bernaldo. He took lumps out of him on the previous lap. The gap between Uyan and Bernaldo is about 2.4 seconds. Bernaldo again closing in on Wouter de Bruin. So this is very crucial about what John Uyan does in the next 16 and a quarter minutes. He's really got to sort of start putting in those sector times. And folks, it's not always about trying to go all guns blazing, because Daniel Kirby on lap 36 has done a 30.9 in the opening sector. I think Daniel Kirby is absolutely flying. Okay, not exactly the best sector 2, but he's just literally ripping his way through traffic as if it was standing still. John Uyan now 1.8 seconds. He made up half a second to Ernest Bernaldo. So the good thing is that between John Uyan and Wouter de Bruin, The gap is 3.3. And we've only got 15.5 minutes to go. That means that Oyen now has to set his sights on at least third. If he gets third and Lane is still in fifth at the checkered, I think Oyen's done enough. But if he'll want to push that gap that little bit further away, and if he can get past Wouter de Bruyne, there I've just seen Bernardo go. I think I've just seen. No, it was actually the other Peugeot, Lalonde, that I just saw a minute ago, which is just up front, the sort of like the Le Mans tribute car. So it's now about how Bernardo and Oyen, how they negotiate this traffic, because that gap was two seconds over the checkered, over the start-finish line. They were literally within 2 1,000ths of each other. So it's now about what Oyen does. He's just got to basically park that car where he needs to, not make a mistake, not overdrive the car. And he's got the Mustang just in front of him. That's going to be an easy target to get through on, as he's going to pull to the right-hand side, squirt on the throttle, through he goes, into the sweeping left. And now there's another back marker that's probably, is that Takanashi, I think, just in front of him?
I think it is. Yeah, he's in fourth at the moment, so I believe that could be Takanashi. Yeah, I think it was Takanashi. Yeah, it was fourth in class. So for Oyen now, he's just got to start moving up to the back of Bernardo and Wouter de Bruyne. He's got to make the opportunity. If they end up going on, he's into the pits. He's got to make that opportunity to be able to get near at least by them, and he's either going to have to do it on track. That's Gilles Lalonde moving out the way there for Bernardo. So Bernardo is now trying to get a little bit of a gap, but I think it's not going to be enough. I think John Oyen has looked so strong here as Gilles Lalonde peels off to the left-hand side. Different pit strategies as well. Heskev is also into the pits here, and there's another DNF of Philippe Enrique, who has, as we know, he started 2.5 laps down anyway, so unfortunately for him, he was always going to lose time. It's whether or not he's had a few incidents and accidents on the way through. So there's been some great racing, and the story's got to be where this 9X8's going to be. He's got to go past Stephen Miller. Buse is coming past Miller once more, and now he's still trying to get onto the back of Bernardo. So let's just keep an eye over the next few laps, Alex, here. We're in the last 13. If anybody's going to go in, it's going to be between the next 3 to 4 minutes, maybe, here for that splash and dash. Bernardo and de Bruyne, I believe, did it the conventional way, where they've done pit stop, then a pit stop, then a splash, where Oyen went the other way and done splash, pit stop, pit stop. So let's see how this one pans out and whether or not this is going to work out for Bernardo, but we'll keep an eye on it once more as it's developing very, very nicely.
Yeah, just calculating at the moment. If John Oyen finishes third and Tom Lane finishes in 5th place, just doing some quick maths on the fly, that's 8 points differential, which, as I said earlier, if Oyen finishes third, Lane finishes 5th, Oyen will make it a CMS Pro 1-2 at the top of the overall Hypercar standings and take home that bacon for the team at CMS Pro. Now, John Oyen, his gap has now increased. It's now up to 4 seconds with 12 minutes to go. Bernardo seems to be able to measure this traffic a little bit better.
But it's De Bruyne's in, Alex. Oh. Sorry, there on the right-hand side. De Bruyne has gone in. That's going to put John Oyen one more place up. But where is De Bruyne in conjunction with Tom Lane? It looks like Tom Lane's on that run from 13 to 14. This is the splash and dash period we said. This is where now they've just got to go in, get a, and off they go again. So hopefully, here, where's De Bruyne? He's still in the pits. He's still not moving. I think he's up and running now. He is up and running, but I think Tom Lane's going to get him. I don't think he's going to have enough. He's not. He's still behind the wall. And unfortunately for Wouter de Bruyne, he has lost a position now. Unfortunately for John Oyen, that's put Tom Lane one more up. And that could actually lead to the fact that Bernardo has also got to pit. So it could become 3 points between them, with Kirby taking the win, Oyen on that 27, Tom Lane on that 23. That's not enough. He had 9 points coming in, and it isn't enough for John Oyen. So for Tom Lane, he can still possibly take this away from John Uyan at the moment here, Alex. It's 9-point gap. He's not going to make that up. If they stay where they are at the moment, he's only going to make 4. So he needs Bernardo. If Bernardo is going in, he needs to go in and try and get out in front of Tom Lane here as well. That's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's 5 points between third. I'm just having a look now. Third place for John Uyan, that's 23 points. Fourth place for Tom Lane is 18. That's a differential of 5, which would mean that if it finishes like it does in 10 minutes, folks, John Uyan will be third. He won't be second. It's got to be the case, as you rightly said, if Tom Lane in that Porsche needs another splash and dash with 10 minutes on the timer to go, folks, it's going to come down to the wire. Becky Ely is 38 seconds ahead of Vasilis Katharinakis, and she will wrap up the overall LMGT3 Championship here at Bahrain on this final round of this season of the Virtual World Sportscar Championship. Michael Locke is very, very handy at the moment. He's got a good gap between himself and Oliver Newman. And Michael Locke, coming into this round of the championship, was on 109 points. Now, this will possibly springboard him ahead of Barry Di Mazzaro, who was 4th coming into this round. Haven't seen Mazzaro racing here today, so that puts that Michael Locke will be into 4th place at the end of this. Oliver Newman is going to more than likely pick up 8th place overall, because Porteous Heath and Benker are ahead of Hesketh in the classification. They round out the top 5 in the AM side of things. But yeah, I think it's more a case, well, hang on a second, I've just seen that Tom Lane is losing time. He's losing big time, because let's not forget, he's off the track as well. He's lost a big old chunk in the first sector, a 31.9 place, a 32.5. I think Tom Lane, you could be right, he could be on the fringes of maybe having to do that splash and dash, or has he overcooked those tyres? Because there's only 9.5 minutes to go. Tom Lane has got a very fast closing Wouter de Bruyne, and that is also going to be crucial. De Bruyne was quicker than Lane by nearly half a second, over 4/10 in Sector 2. So I think it may not be a case of can John Uyan get past get past Ernest Bernaldo. Can Wouter de Bruyne close in and pass Tom Lane for 4th?
Well, there's De Bruyne there. There's Tom Lane down in front of us. You can see the back end of his purple car there. It's really where Bernardo's got to go. It's whether or not Bernardo has got this little splash and dash to do. Everywhere else across the field at the moment is kind of wrapped up. I think there's gaps appearing. This is where we've got to find the action. This is where it's got to come from. And for him, if De Bruyne's coming, he's coming fast, Alex. It was over 6.8. It's now only 6.1. It is going to be tough for Tom Lane. He needs to bring it down. Last time out, 147.3, 147.2 in the favour of De Bruyne. So De Bruyne is going to be bringing out time on Tom Lane. Is whether or not Lane has got this splash and dash. He is sliding that car absolutely rapidly. He is literally Bambi on ice at the moment in that car, and every time he goes to slam that pedal down, you can see it there, another little wiggle coming out of that corner out of turn 10. So it's going to be difficult for Tom Lane to hang on, because De Bruyne's gap now 5.3. that's another 7/10 gone, over half of this lap. So I think Tom Lane could be in trouble here if he allows De Bruyne through or gets overtaken by De Bruyne.
Well, the thing is, Wouter de Bruyne took a second, and he's taken another 8/10. That's 1.8 seconds. Gap now down to under 5 between De Bruyne and Lane. However, Lane, right, okay, look at it from this perspective. 23 points for Uyan at the moment. He's 6.2 behind Ernest Bernaldo. We haven't got that long left, folks. We've got just over 6 minutes and change. De Bruyne has taken another half second. That is 2.3 seconds out of Tom Lane. 144.8 plays 147.2. So Tom Lane is clutching onto second in the championship by his by his fingernails, which have obviously been bitten very much to the quick by him during the course of this race. I think John Uyen needs, and I'm going to be honest here, John Uyen is starting to close that gap up. Bernaldo has just done a 33.9 in the opening sector. Uyen is closing in. He took 1.5 seconds out of him. So Uyen is now going to pass Becky Ely. Look at the slipstream he gets. If he uses that slipstream and navigates this traffic in the next 5 minutes and 20, we could possibly see some drama for the battle for second position. And if that happens, that is 9 points differential. You know what that'll mean, James? That'll put John Uyen and Tom Lane dead level on points, but on countback it will go to Uyen thanks to the wins at Spa and the 4.8 hours of Le Mans earlier on this season. Tom Lane has not won a race in this season of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. So Uyen has got to get a wriggle on, but he's lost 8 tenths in the second sector. He's lost a big amount of time. And it was a 1:46.4 for Uyen, 1:47.7 for Bernaldo. That was 1.3. If he hadn't lost those crucial tenths of a second in Sector 3, I think John Uyen would have been probably within, would have been closer and closer. But Wouter de Bruyne is taking lumps out of Tom Lane. And yeah, that just goes to show how close it is with 4 minutes and 10 to go. This is going down to the wire. Laid under fire from De Bruyne. Uyen trying to close in on Bernaldo. You cannot understand how close this is going to be towards the end of the race. But Uyen, I think, with those 3 pit stops, you know, pitting very, very early, Kirby's been able to make the best of it. Uyen has struggled in the last few moments, and Uyen manages to get out of harm's way there.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact there as well, as we get a little bit of stutter. That was Ross Smith, I believe. Let's have a look back at that one quickly.
Yeah, Ross Smith was...
Yeah, it's tough because...
Was that Jerry... That was possibly Jerry Chen that had a moment with him as well in the number 66. So it is all coming down to the wire. Ross Smith and Jerry Chen come together with moments to spare on the timer. Wouter de Bruyne has taken another 8 tenths out of Tom Lane. Gap between 4th and 5th is now 2.2 seconds and closing. Timon Civic will play no part in this. He's 35 seconds, at least 37 seconds behind them. But yeah, I mean, Tom Lane is going to be very, very lucky if it...
Oh, sorry, he needed to go then. He needed to go. Boost had left him a gap, and for De Bruyne, he wasn't sure whether or not he was going to go for it, and he got a little bit squirrely. He stuck his nose in, back to out, stuck his nose in, back to out, and it was very tough for De Bruyne to make a decision. But there's Lane, bottom of the screen. There is second place. That's Katarinakis in front of him. No, De Bruyne! Oh, he's cooked it coming out 1. That could be it.
No.
That could be it. Yeah, that could be Tom Lane's now. He's going to get this over John Uyen, unless John Uyen all of a sudden miraculously gets some nitrous oxide in that X8 down that straightaway. He ain't getting this. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be Lane's finishing position here as well. I think this could be all done now due to that one mistake from De Bruyne here as well, Alex. So I'm going to go and try and work some things out, do some quick maths, mate, and I will be back very shortly.
Yeah, by my calculations, that means that Tom Lane will secure second in the overall championship by 4 points. With the way that it finishes now, it's 5 points between third and fourth. But it just depends on what John Uyen does. But we are down to the last minute and a half. There is a yellow out in sector number 1 as we come towards the end of this final round of this season of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship for the 80 minutes of Bahrain. And we are on to our 46th lap of this race because the timer is counting down. 1 minute and 13 seconds still to go on the timer. Uyen trying to do his level best. He's got a BMW to one side and Acura to the other side behind him. Now that is not going to be very, very conducive to his run at this moment in time. But Wouter de Bruyne is closed in again on Tom Lane. Wouter de Bruyne is pretty much nearly right with him. There they are, down the start-finish straight as they cross the line for the penultimate time here at the Bahrain International Circuit. This is where it's coming down to the wire. That's Becky Ely. The Wouter de Bruyn is going to get through on at turn number 1. Yes, he is, and that's... He needed to do that. He needed to do that move, but it's still not going to be enough. It's still not going to be enough for John Uyan at this moment, because that says to me that Tom Lane, if he gets passed by Wouter de Bruyn as they go through turn number 4 for the final time, this is going to come down to the wire. Gap is 5.5 tenths and closing. 4 tenths. De Bruyn took over 6 tenths out of Tom Lane on that last, the final running through the opening sector. And he was faster by 5 kph in the speed trap across the line. So that is now going to be a case. Will the BMW get through on the Porsche? At the moment, going into the tight left-hander here on the infield part of the circuit, the answer is no. But who gets the better traction? It's De Bruyn. De Bruyn closing in. He's pulling to the left. Lane trying to defend against the Dutchman as they go through into the next left-hander. De Bruyn trying to go through. They were wheel to wheel for the briefest of moments. But will De Bruyn get the traction? He will. Is he going to pin it round the outside? He's going to pin it round the outside. Looks like Kirby's taking the win for another race in succession. But it's down to the wire. Even if De Bruyn gets through, Tom Lane will hold on for second in the championship overall, denying John Uyan at the final throw at this circuit.
Oh, he needs it.
He needs it. They're coming out of the final corner. Tom Lane is going to hold on to 4th. He's going to keep second in the championship, despite the best efforts of John Uyan, despite the best efforts of Wouter de Bruyn. Well, would you believe that? How's about that for a finish? But there is your overall race winner and your confirmed virtual sports car champion for this season. Daniel Kirby in the number 90 takes the win by nearly a minute around this circuit here at Bahrain. Absolutely the tour de force, but we wait for Becky Ely, and Becky has done the donuts. She's got the LMP, the LMGT3 title in the bag. Lights out to checkered for the number 72 Acura NSX. Absolutely well-deserved Becky Ely, who has done a cracking job picking up the win, took pole position in qualifying, and led every single lap of the race, winning by 18.5 seconds. Micah Lock wins in the 05 Porsche 963 in Hypercar AM, and it's Stuart Barge that wins in LMGT3 AM. 4 different classes, great racing over the last 80 minutes, and we have some real things to talk about, and we'll get some interviews obviously post-race, but that was so close. De Bruyn and Lane wheel to wheel on the final lap, James. That was heart-stopping, incredible, and a fantastic way to go to the checkered in the battle for what was going to be 4th at the end of it all.
Yeah, it was going to be absolutely amazing. I can tell you now, Tom Lane 216.5, John Uyan 212.5. If Wouter de Bruyn had cleared Lane, that would have put Lane on 213.5. He would have only taken it by 1 point. But let's bring you up the session results here as well.
So Daniel Kirby takes another win this season and rounds off the overall championship in style. That is his 7th win of the season. The 4.8 hours of Le Mans, the 60 laps of the Glen, the 60 minutes of Mosport, the 60 minutes of Road America, 60 minutes of Fuji, 100 minutes of Road Atlanta, and now the 80 minutes of Bahrain. Ernest Bernaldo doing a absolutely brilliant job in the Porsche 963, taking 2nd. And it's the CMS Pro 1-3. John Uyan close but no cigar for 2nd in the championship. CMS Pro denied the 1-2 in the drivers, but take home the title of teams champions. Wouter de Bruyn in the Team Rookie Monsters BMW.
Sorry, Alex, he got him on the line.
He got him on the line. So, hang on a second. Right, let's redo our calculations, shall we? So, that is 8 points. So, that is Tom Lane taking 2nd by 1 point.
1 point, yeah, 213 to 212.
Well, Timon Suvic in the SKS Motorsport Acura takes 6 ahead of Magnus Dahlgren in the Ferrari 499. Michael Lock taking 8th. Eric Mounier, George Andalidis running at the top 10. Jerry Chen, Ross Smith ran at the top 12 overall. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to go back to the records because I was just about to go through the race
frozen.
itself, but. Yeah. Well, I've got it. Oliver Newman in Hypercar am taking 2nd position in 13th. Magnus Dahlgren, Ross Smith. Well, no, this is probably a previous one, but yeah, that's your top 10. But we had some great racing, and yeah, I'm so glad that there's a lot coming up in chat. Thea out there saying good entertainment for doing laundry on a Saturday afternoon. Good choice. Yeah, Tom saying, yeah, Wouter got me on the line. Thea out there saying Becky and Dan just class. And you know what? Let's bring back Ross Smith. Ross, what a way to conclude the season. We didn't know how it was going to all pan out, did we?
No, I knew that race was going to be kind of a well, it was going to be a shuffle for sure, just because of the conflicting strategies and all that. But I'm mostly just here to help you guys aid in bringing in the winners who won the race for their class and then also for the season. But it was definitely a way to cap it off.
Yeah, you know what? Let's see if we can start off with our first interviewee. Let's bring in Matt Buse from LMGT3M. Matt, great battle between you and Josh. Josh in the race. You know, it was nip and tuck between the pair of you. You had to deal with other drivers in LMGT3, but how are you feeling after that one?
Tired. I'm a little bit confused how he stayed in front of me, though. I thought I pitted with him a good distance behind, and then I ended up behind coming out. So somewhere I lost some ground, but it was a good fight all race.
I mean, how's it been with you and Mike running in the Lamborghinis this season as well? It's been a pretty standout job to see that car on the LMGT3 grid, and you guys must be pretty happy of running in the same car, being able to share information and get the cars dialed in. Was it a tricky one here at Bahrain for you guys?
Bahrain actually suits the car pretty well. Plus, we had a setup from last year that worked pretty well out of the box. But the season was nice. We were able to bounce setups off of each other. Unfortunately, being some of the only Lamborghinis, we don't have a lot of other setups to go by. So we're sort of making it up as we go along.
And now that this season is over, what's the focus for next time out?
Definitely get our consistency down. We're looking ahead to see what other manufacturers are out there that might want to pick up Trash Pandas, but we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Brilliant. Matt, great to have you and Mike with us this season, and great to see Trash Panda repping the Raging Bull of Santa Agata Bolognese all the way through the season. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Well, big thank you there to Matt Buse. Well, I think let's bring in our LMGT3 AM winner from the 80 minutes of Bahrain. Let's see if we can bring in Stuart Barge. If we can.
Oh, there you go.
Right. Well, welcome along into the interview booth post-race of the 80 minutes of Bahrain 2. Our LMGT3 AM winner. Congratulations, Stuart Barge. Well done. Brilliant race out there.
Thank you a lot.
So, how did the car feel over the course of the race? Because we did have, 36-degree track, and then it sort of dipped over the course of the race as we went under nightfall. Did you feel that the car was really coming to you, and sort of you were able to enjoy driving it?
Honestly, the car felt really good the entire race, and most of that goes credit to the NSX team that's been tuning this car all year long. Becky, John Nguyen, and several others. I mean, John Marr and several others. It's just made a huge difference to the car and helping me as I am keep consistent.
Does that mean you're possibly going to stick with the car for next season then, Stuart?
I don't know. We're going to have to look and see what's out there and see if there's any more interesting teams. I did not run a team championship this year, so it'll depend on what's out there.
Well, Stuart, Congratulations on the W. Thank you for jumping into the interview booth post-race, and we'll see you next season.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the great broadcast.
Brilliant. Appreciate it, buddy. Well, you know what we need to do now is we need to bring in, I think, someone who has just today has just secured the LM GT3 Championship overall. Let's see if we can bring in our champion for this season. Let's bring in Becky Ely. Becky, congratulations. You are officially our virtual World Sports Car Championship champion for LM GT3. Congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
Thank you very much. I am flabbergasted, to be perfectly honest. I know it looked like it was in the bag coming in, but just the whole season, like think about it as a whole, I'm absolutely flabbergasted.
I mean, it was a real shame for Jamie having a problem with his pedal set through turn one on lap 2. But he's given you a bit of a fight all the way through the season with the Stardust Autosports Acura. How do you wish that it could have been the fact that we could have seen him and you going toe-to-toe around this circuit for 80 minutes?
Absolutely. It would have been great to have some fighting going on there. It's a good track for battles as well.
And I was just speaking to Stuart, who won GT3 AM earlier on. It's been really like, he said that he wasn't with the team, but he was sort of like yourself and other people that have been running the Acura this season have really sort of helped him out and really got the car to work. What does it mean to be part of a community where you've got people like Stuart that aren't running with the team and are needing a little bit of assistance? There's always people that do, like yourself, that step in and say, well, maybe if you tweak this, maybe if you tweak that. It's all about camaraderie and family at the end of the day, isn't it?
Do you know what? I'm going to tell you a not little secret. Stuart was the one at the beginning of the season that came along and was like, he sent me a setup and he helped me. And he gave me loads of help at the start when this was all brand new to me. And I couldn't be more grateful to him and both George Angelidis, who did a lot of the setups that I was tweaking at the start of the year. And it makes such a difference. I wouldn't be here talking to you right now probably if Stuart hadn't have helped me at the beginning of the season. So thank you both Stuart and George for that. Then also we all work together. And that's why you see, was it something like 5 of the top 8 in qualifying were all NSXs? That's why, because we have a chat. We're all working on setups together before it all goes a slightly separate way. We're all giving each other tips and stuff. And in the second half of the season, that has really shown, because that's probably about when we started doing it. And it's really shown in the results.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear, Becky. Thoughts ahead of next season, because that won't be too far away, I'm sure.
No, well, I have been adopted by Yuki Takanashi and Josh Lepetri, so I think we are going to be moving into Hypercar next year and sorting out whatever teams will be, whatever classes will be. And I'm really looking forward to the new challenge. I've been watching the WEC this year for the first time and pretty hyped for Hypercar.
Brilliant. That's really good to hear about you and Yuki and Josh looking to move up into Hypercar next season. But congratulations on the title. LMGT3 overall champion of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. Becky Ely, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Can I just give a few more thanks?
Go for it. Go for it. The floor is yours.
First off, like to thank my partner who supported me. I quite often, on days that is racing, I literally just rest all day because my health isn't the greatest. It's not terrible, but it's not the greatest. And sometimes I just have to rest all day before doing this. And I'm going to be zonked. Like once this adrenaline wears off, I'm just going to crash because I'm shattered. And he does a lot of looking after me, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without him. So thank you to him. And then I would also like to thank again. I've already said about NSX, but thank you to all of them. To John Mayer, to Stuart Barge, to Vasilis Katrinakis, and to Jamie Zalecki. Without all of them working together with me, this wouldn't have happened, as well as George Angelidis, who is my setup sponsor, got his head on the top of my car, and he has been fantastic. Then also just everyone. It is the friendliest bunch, and I wouldn't have even been racing here if everyone didn't seem friendly. And everyone's super friendly. It's an awesome, awesome community. So thank you, just everyone. And big thank you to James Parfit.
Suck up. What are you thanking me for, Becky?
For the awesome broadcast. I love watching it back. And to you, Alex, to all the commentators,
there you go.
Absolutely love it. It really adds a lot to the season, having you guys doing what you're doing.
Awesome stuff. Well, there you go, Alex. That's good to hear.
Thank you very much, Becky. We'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your weekend, so get some rest and get yourself ready for next season. We look forward to seeing you in the Hypercar class next time.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you sometime soon.
I'm sure you will.
Oh, wait, you've got your teammate here.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. 2 seconds. Just trying to move. Vasilis.
I grabbed for you.
There you go, got him.
The other's a teammate.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Hey, Vasilis. Hey, Jamie.
How are you?
We're good after being champions. I mean, that's how you feel. You feel very good.
Yeah, who needs the brake pedal? You got a championship trophy.
Yeah, team championships for you guys as well. Stellar season of racing from all of you. How has it been as a team? We obviously see sometimes team orders go awry and teammates taking each other out, but you've been pretty good at that. You haven't really had that situation, have you? Let's start with... Oh, where's Vasilis gone?
He's gone back into the waiting room, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, security kicked him out for some reason.
No, he's still here. I've got him back. So, you guys as a team, how's it been as a team there? Vas.
I think it's been pretty good. I mean, I would echo everything Becky said. I mean, yeah, we've got the three of us, but there's also all of the NSXs. I mean, really, it's been a super team, and I don't think there was ever any team orders or any issues between any of us. I mean, I almost punted Vasilis today, but other than that, I think it was a pretty good team. We all worked together really nicely. I came into the season just expecting to be a single car team and run as a solo entry for the team's championship to make George mad, as you do.
Yeah.
And then I told Vasilis, hey, I've got a spare NSX sitting around if you want to join. And then, Becky moved up to pro. So, I mean, what do you guys think? How do you think the season was for us?
Vasilis, what do you tell us?
I mean, for me, I came in not expecting too much, but of course, winning Daytona, I mean, that was very well. That was very nice. And afterwards, the season went fairly well, I would say. Of course, there were some times like Spa or like Road Atlanta, which could have gone a lot better for me personally, but as a team as a whole, it worked like clockwork. I mean, especially the whole group that we managed to create with the NSXs, that helped immensely. And everybody was able to chime in, and we were able to make the NSX as good as really as it can be, really.
Okay, well, that's good. Becky, thoughts on being in a team with these two wonderful individuals in the booth with us?
It's been fantastic. When Jamie invited me into the team, I was like, great, this is awesome. When he invited me along to Le Mans, I was like, I'm too scared to join you guys in case I mess up. But I think we've all been able to help each other, and also John and Stuart as well, who are almost non-official team members. Well, they are non-official team members, really. There's really a big team of 5 of us working together, and it couldn't work better, really.
Awesome stuff, guys. Well, Vasilis, let's start with you. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
I want to shout out really CMS and Storm Gang Simulation for providing the servers and the cars, because without them we would be here. they have been pretty phenomenal, and I know that they push a bit too much, even though we say to them not to. But really, I cannot thank them enough personally.
Awesome stuff. Jamie, who do you think? Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank George, Ross, John, the entire CMS team, all the SGS guys, you guys in the broadcast booth. You've done great work for us. Phyllis, Becky, John, Stewart, the entire NSX group. I got to get a sponsor plug for Daddle's Coffee. One of my buddies actually runs the company, so if you need some coffee, hit up Daddle's. Yeah, just looking forward to next season. Hope to fight for it again.
Do we get a staff discount, Jamie, for coffee? Because, you know, me and Alex both pretty much survive it. I think if you cut us open, it would come out brown, not red. So do we get a discount, or, you know?
Let me pull some strings. I don't even get a discount. Let me see what I can make happen.
Oh, okay, mate. Well, it was worth a try. You better check international shipment as well, with both of us being in the UK. But great job, guys. Well done on that team championship, and amazing for you all as well. And Becky, well done on your pro championship. Looking forward to seeing you in the Hypercar. I think you're going to be amazing, as you always are there as well. But guys, thanks so much for joining us, and take care.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
All right, as we slowly move them out, that was obviously the team championships there, Alex, as well, for them guys from the Stardust Autosports in the NSX GT3. So great job from all of them. Who would you like to have a chat with now? Are you going to go Mika Lock?
Well, yeah, let's go with Mika Lock, our Hypercar AM winner, who won by a country mile. Micah, good to have you with us. Congrats on the win. How are you feeling after that?
Thank you. I'm feeling good, tired and hungry, but good.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be a difficult affair, you know, especially with these, you know, dealing with a lot of backmarker traffic. And you finished in the top 10. I think it was 7th overall. So a great effort. I mean, you're really doing some good moves out there at the circuit. But to come away with an AM class win at the end of the season, that must be a pretty good feeling, and that puts you, I think, 4th in the standings after everything's all said and done. You must be thinking, well, that's a good start. Let's progress from that and let's go on to next season.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I was just happy to finish on the lead lap. I don't know if I'd been able to do that yet this year. So, yeah, I was just happy to finish on the lead lap and finish strong. And yeah, looking forward to next year.
Are you going to be sticking the yams, or are you going to be going to play with the big boys in the pros?
Yeah, I'm surely going to go to pro. I don't know yet if I'll stick in Hypercar or maybe even try GT. So I don't know. I'll try out the new cars when they come out. See what I like.
Yeah. Well, listen, Micah, thank you very much for joining us. Go and get yourself a little bit of respite, get some food, get some hydration down your neck. But well done today on the win. And we'll see you next season for the VWSC.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you next season.
So that was our Hypercar AM class winner. But let's bring in the last two people who we're going to speak to. We're going to speak to the CMS Pro Duo of our overall champion in Hypercar, Daniel Kirby, and John Uyen, who narrowly missed out. John, I felt for you, buddy. It was so nip and tuck. We'll go to you first. To literally miss out by, I think it was just one point at the end of it. 1 point. Because we were to pit John on the line on the final lap after a side-by-side battle. But to be battling with John all the way through the season, to go for second in the championship, how are you feeling right now?
It feels really good. On the championship, I think I passed actually Tom Lane on the standings, according to George. So that's a surprise, because I was watching the timing screen the last 5 laps. Water, I think, got him at the end, according to George.
Yeah,
yes,
he did, but I've got you as still behind. Let me do some maths. You two carry on a minute, and I'll try and work it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's bring Dan into the conversation. I mean, Dan, again, another win. You're 7th of this season. taking not only the overall title but also helping CMS Pro to the overall teams championship. That must be a pretty good feeling in the camp. But that Porsche, that Peugeot has been an absolute weapon in both your hands this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've for whatever reason like really gelled with this car, and I have been really fast in it. So it's been pretty fun to drive.
I mean, I think you won it by nearly a minute after 80. And we'd seen at some point that you'd gone in and done your first pit stop, ended up behind John, and was catching. In terms of other hypercars that you've probably driven on previous seasons, you said that you gelled really, really well with the Peugeot 9X8. What's different about it to, say, the Porsche or the Acura or the BMW in terms of its handling dynamics? Because that car, you turn it through a corner and then it's like a rocket ship as soon as you mash the throttle.
Yeah, it's because in real life I race front-wheel drive cars, so the driving style is pretty similar of this, where it does most of its rotation through the corner off throttle, and then it has four-wheel drive, so it just has really good traction out of the corner. So I think just like my driving style matched up really well with like what the car demands.
Yeah, John, coming to you now. Different strategy for you guys in the Peugeots, because we did see a lot of, I think we did see a couple of the cars go a little bit longer on the opening stint. What was it just sort of full push for you and Daniel from the word go, just to sort of just try and make the best out of this situation coming into this final round of the season?
Yeah, I think so. This 80-minute race compared to 60-minute races previously we did is actually worked for us. Fuel consumption was not a problem. We didn't have to save fuel. We could go all out with the maximum fuel trim. So the tire management was the only thing that I decided to, double stint the tires in all four stints. So yeah, that's why you saw all the changes in positions in the top. I was leading, but that was kind of because I had to pit early, and we did change positions with Ernest and even Daniel. Daniel took tires on the first step, I think, and I didn't. But at the end, I was hoping that it would come back to me, but my tires, front tires especially, was just gave up. I wasn't good enough for Ernest. Just finished 5 seconds behind him, I think. But I was happy because Tom Lane always gives me a hard time. Previously, I was happy to see him behind 15, 20 seconds. So happy with the third place, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure Tom finished 5th, so points will work out. We'll have to finish this championship in 2nd. And big congrats to, of course, teammate Daniel. He's been untouchable this season.
I mean, looking ahead to next season, because we know there's going to be quite a lengthy calendar like we've had this this season, where it goes all the way through the year. I've got to ask one big question: is the 9X8 going to be your weapon of choice for you both next season for the virtual?
Yeah, that's funny. We were just talking about that in the waiting room, actually. Not sure. Daniel is comfortable with it. Last year we drove the Bolide, same drive split, 45-55 on the differentials. They're not easy cars. A lot of understeer, very tricky setup. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's time for us to move away from all-wheel drive cars a little bit. Try something different. But we'll see. We also have some new cars coming in for the 24 into the pack. So we have not decided anything solid yet.
So the jury's out on that one for you both, then, I take it.
Yeah.
Yes. We're on the fence, so to speak.
But yeah, that's a very good analogy of putting it that way. I mean, but still to have a really good run of pace, putting the frighteners on everybody. You guys must be really happy with how the season's gone, and that like everyone now knows that right, when they come back next season, we've got to be on our A game, and I'm sure that you guys will be preparing to the hilt with whatever you decide to go with. Obviously, with new cars coming for 2024, I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys get on. But congrats again for today, and thank you for providing us with some entertaining racing all the way through this 80 minutes of this final round here at Bahrain. It's really been an absolute pleasure watching you guys at work behind the wheel.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it was exciting, the race. I can't
Oh, it
wait to
definitely was.
watch.
It definitely was. You guys were passing back market traffic like it was nothing. Like literally out of the corner, bang, and it's like, yep, there goes another Peugeot. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Daniel, there's John. You know, but it was great to see that there was more than just you guys. Gilhelm, I think, was running one as well. So it was great to see that the 9X8 has been very much part and parcel of what we've seen. Do you guys any shout outs do you guys want to do before we call time on chatting to you here in the booth?
Big effort from admins, of course, George and Ross and Matthew, and all the drivers, especially looking from Hypercar seat, all the GT3 drivers, they have been really great. It's been a great season, traffic-wise and competition-wise. Yeah, congratulations to everyone. Actually, it's been a great season, really.
Daniel?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. It's just everyone here in CMS with admins and everyone racing. It's just been really, really awesome.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having you in with us for the post-race interview, and congrats on your achievements this season. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you back next season, whether it be in the 9X8 or something completely different. But thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all a very good weekend. So enjoy your rest whilst you got the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
I've got one update,
thank
John.
you, guys.
John, before you run off, I've got it at 212.5 to you, 213.5 to Tom Lane. But
okay,
we'll see what happens. I've got it by 1 point, but we'll see what happens, guys, as well. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll talk to you next season.
All right, thank you. Thank you both.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Let's just pop these wonderful individuals into the booth there, Alex. Everybody seemed really happy. There was a lot of drivers to talk to and to get through, but everybody seemed very, very chuffed with the way this season's gone for them.
Indeed, and considering the fact that we have to give a shout out to our broadcast team with the likes of Dan Pepples, Ewan O'Leary, Steve Carabellas, Jake Sanson, et al., and including myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parker. James, final words before I close off everything tonight here on the Virtual World Sports Car Championship season finale for Bahrain.
Well, it's been an absolutely stellar season. It's been great coming in for the first time with Storm Gaming. It was JPB's kind of flurry into R Factor as well. Ross and George have been absolutely amazing, guiding us through and everything else, and obviously helping once we got up on our feet, getting the production sorted out, providing us with all the graphics and everything that we needed to get going as well. Obviously, it's a completely different operation to iRacing. So a great massive thanks to them guys for helping us out. It's been absolutely incredible from all of them here, really, to be fair. And obviously everybody in JPB that's come along, as you said, you've listed them there. It's been great having everybody coming along. We've all gained experience with R Factor, and at the end of the day, any experience is good experience. And I've really enjoyed it. And I'm sure me and George and Ross will talk about next season and see what we come up with. But hopefully we should be back next season as well. So let's see. But for now, that's not quite the end of us, Alex, as we've still got the historic season to close out as well on the 25th of November at Miami and the 2nd of December at Laguna. So a week apart.
Yep, and you'll also find out what's coming for the historics for next season, as we were given a little bit of a teaser, myself and James still can't work it out between the pair of us. But never mind, you'll have to wait until the 2nd of December. But thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in, everyone that has put in their comments over the course of this season of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship, broadcasting live on Champion Sim Racing and also the JP Broadcasting Network on YouTube. It's been a real pleasure stepping in the last moment, but a big thank you to James for not only doing colour commentary but also the production side of things, doing the cameras behind the scenes. And on behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt, it's been a real pleasure. So if in doubt, flat out, keep it pinned. See you next time. Good night, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.